Yuya Yoshizumi found himself in a tough spot as he struggled to pay off his parents' debts after they fled abroad. Luckily, his classmate in Japan's cutest schoolgirl, Kaede Tsuba, offered to assist. However, the catch was that Yuya would have to live with her. Yuya was taken aback and felt as though his life had been turned upside down. "Why me?" he exclaimed. Kaede, who was both beautiful and carefree, began showering Yuya with attention. "Yuya-kun, want to take a bath with me?" she asked. "Can I rest my head on your lap?" "Yeah, I'd had enough." "That's enough, Kaede Tsuba-san." And so begins the romantic comedy between the stubborn Yuya Yoshizumi and his attractive yet laid-back classmate Kaede Tsuba. The story started with our protagonist, Julia, directly being asked where his dad was right now. He was just a first-year high school student, and now he was sitting in the living room, face to face with a bunch of scary-looking men wearing black suits and sunglasses. They had a fair share of scars on their cheeks, which clearly means that these are the type of guys not to get involved with at all, but he replied that he didn't know where his father was at all, as he just got home himself. The guy showed him a card he found on the table, which said something that pissed him off, enough to cause him to tear it apart. The card said that Julia's father had run away. Not only that, but he also left his own son behind by himself, as he continued to curse him for being a bad father. Julia thought there was really no way to know what might happen in life, which was his father's motto. His father was the type to keep researching on making a new product, which could become a trend later on. But he was always one step behind, because of which all his debt kept piling up. On top of that, the thing that was even worse in his household was that his mother was in love with his father. She retained her beauty, and even if she was with Julia, people used to think they were siblings. He felt a bit proud of his mother for looking young at that age, with brilliant cooking. He asked her why she married a useless man like his father, to which she answered that she was in love with how his father always kept working hard on one thing to another, even if he was a failure. Julia could understand how love could make people blind, and he looked upon those who worked their hardest with nothing but respect. But his father had already broken his threshold to gain his respect. He felt a bit guilty for being in his current situation, and not talking to them about it before. He asked the scary guy Taka about how much money his father borrowed from him. Taka got angry at first, but calmed down because he knew there was no point in getting angry at Julia, that he then politely told Julia that the debt was 30 million, which was just too much even in hearing for a high school boy. Taka stated that Ya's father kept borrowing money again and again to pay back the money he borrowed, and it was how his debt kept growing as well. Yo was actually not afraid of Taka and other guys, because he had known him since he was in primary school. Even though Taka looked like a tough guy, he was actually a kind person to him, who gave off the vibe of being an older brother to him. Taka tried to think of how he could pay 30 million, but all his savings were like just a drop in the bucket for such a huge amount. Taka was damned at Yuya's father's behavior of leaving his own son like this, and leaving it all up to lawyers, that he couldn't think of just how far he went to shame himself like that. As Yuya recalled his memory when he returned home, only to find out there was nobody at home, except a card left for him, saying the same things of leaving him and resting the matters at the hands of the lawyer. Taka told him that it was truly a miracle that he was brought up just fine, even after being raised by such a nasty couple. Then Taka mentioned it was himself who was the reason for Yuya's good growth. Yuya agreed to him, admitting that he indeed learned a lot from him, since the others around him were all useless. Taka asked him what Yuya planned to do from now on about this situation, and stated that this time he couldn't lie to his boss this time, so he won't be able to cover up for Taka. He informed Taka that he might end up having to take him with them. Taka could understand what they meant, and what it would be since he had no other way but to shoulder the debt which his no-good parents left on him. He hoped it might be in a more respectable manner, but either way he could feel like this was where his life ended as himself. Taka then held his shoulders and assured him that he would persuade their boss to have Yuya work under his wing. Taka was truly concerned about him, and wanted to do everything in his power to make sure Yuya got to live a proper life. Yuya was glad to hear that. Then others behind Taka vouched for him, as well, to take it easy, and not become an uneducated person like them. They made sure to let Yuya know that the best thing for him was to stay like he was now, as a high school student. After the talks were done, Taka suggested they should now get going, as they promised to show him the best dojo they could do. Then the bell of his house rang, and he went to open the door to check who it was. When he opened the door, he was left shocked to see that Ki was in front of him right now, and she claimed to have come here to help him with a smile on her face. He was lost in her beauty, as it happened to be that she had long straight black hairs, eyes like pearls, and an immense beauty which could put even the magazine models to shame. She was like a goddess who had come out from a painting in front of him, that he still couldn't believe that the Hidetsuba kid was here talking to him. She was as cute and sweet as she looked. He doubted if there was a single student at his Maiwo private high school who wasn't fawning all over her. She was such a beauty, who won the Grand Prix at the National High School Girls Miss Contest held last year. So she was basically known as the prettiest high school girl in Japan, with her mature looks and perfect proportions. Her occasional smiles were like the smile of a goddess, which captivated not only men but women as well, that he was also among one of those who admired Keith. So having to see that Keith knew where he lived, he couldn't help but wonder how this happened since they had never spoken to each other. She asked Gia what was wrong as he was just looking at her without saying anything, with his face all red. She asked him if he caught a cold, to which he answered that he didn't have a fever and was all healthy, that he then took off her shoes to come closer to him, only to check his temperature from up close. She asked him to stay still and put her hand on his head to make sure he was okay. He turned more red than before, and she could feel that he was a bit feverish. She asked him if it would be better if he went to the hospital, but he told her he was really fine, and she might be imagining his fever. He then straightforwardly asked her why she came to his house, and what exactly did she mean by saying help him. She then asked him to let her come into his home, but he was afraid to let her come, that he wanted to decline her politely because there was Taka and his crew inside there. He knew they were harmless inside but scary on the outside, so he thought that someone like Keith might faint from seeing such scary people like that. Suddenly, what he was scared of happened as Taka himself came to the door. Taka asked Yua if he could get a guest, and told him that they would need her to leave for now because of his busy schedule regarding the problems. He was startled by such a bad timing of events, as he didn't want Taka to come here at all. He already wanted to ask Keith to leave, but then one of the guys recognized Keith. The guy asked her if she was from the Hidetsuba family, and he was glad to see how cuter she was in real life than on the internet. Taka asked the guy if he knew the young lady, to which he informed Taka that she was Hidetsuba Keith, the prettiest girl in Japan. Keith smirked after hearing that. Then she spoke up asking Taka if he was Yumichi Takashi, which was actually his real name, and furthermore she added that calling him as the lieutenant of the Hiratsu Syndicate would be more appropriate. And after hearing this, Taka was left in a bit of shock with his fingers shaking a bit. All of them wondered how Keith knew about Taka's affiliation with the syndicate, and on top of that, even his position there, that he couldn't imagine Card having a background with connection to that bloody side of the world with dark sides, while Taka was left in a turmoil. He tried to keep it calm, but got a scary look on his face. Yuya asked Taka to calm down, and not to make that face, that he reminded him of the time when Taka shot gifts in the events for the sake of making children happy. But they got scared of his scary face, and told himself to be gentle even more from now on. He told Yuya it was a different story now than he went to Keith, that he asked her in a strong voice about how she knew about him. He could see that she was wearing the same uniform as Yuya, meaning that they were in the same high school. He asked her who in the world she was, to which she just smiled back at first. She introduced herself to them, and stated that she wouldn't mind him not remembering her. Taka got angry, so he yelled out at her, forgetting things she should not know. He told her not to think lightly of him, but Keith went on further with her words, and called Taka a simple-minded baboon. She went on further with her insulting of Taka, and she even made fun of how lame his necktie was. Whereas Yao was shocked and worried to see Keith going so far as to talk back, and insult Taka with a smile on her face. He was aware that even if Taka was a very capable person in his job, the type of job he had was not meaningful to be involved with. Taka laughed it out then in a scary voice. He said her tongue was sharper than her looks, but if she weren't someone Yuya knew, he would have punished her heavily by now. He assured that he was just letting her off easy this time, while he was indeed staggering with tears in his eyes. The reality was that Taka wasn't as tough as he seemed, and Yuya could understand how he must be feeling on being insulted that bad. Taka then got serious, and told Yuya not to take him as a fool this time. He nodded a no to express that he didn't say anything against him, while Taka continued to tell Keed that she was trying to tile him up, but still haven't answered his question about who she was. She then took the name Hidatsu Yokero, and stated to Taka that the name might be familiar to him. It seemed that Taka had not only heard of it, but he was sweating harder than before. He was scared to hear the name of the chief of the National Police Agency's Investigations Bureau, so he asked her if that was her father. She told him that wasn't the case, but Yokara was her uncle who very much doted on her just like her father. She then threatened Taka by saying that if she were to ask her uncle for a favor, he would even abuse some of his authority to do what she asked. Taka was aware that he couldn't do anything against her, so he asked what she intended to do with them. She stated it was simple, that she wanted them to lay off their hands from Yuya, and in exchange, the amount of money his father borrowed, including the interest, means a total of 36,067,977 yen would be transferred to him at a later date. Yuya was surprised to hear everything as the conversation progressed from the revelation that Keith's uncle was police chief, and now she was intending to even pay off his father's. He was confused by all of these events. Then a lady arrived behind Kaede telling her not to go ahead by herself. She politely excused for the intrusion and introduced her as Hitotsuba Sakurako, Keith's mother, and she was also a lawyer. Right after she arrived, she spoke to Taka in a sharp tone by calling him by his position and warning him that he might have gotten into a risky business. Sakurako looked calm and gentle, but her tone of voice was as sharp as a sword, and no one could escape from her. Yo could also feel how much pressure Taka must be under right now. But unexpectedly, Taka spoke up and claimed that he just wanted to take back what they had lent, and the one who died abroad without paying back was Ya's father. So even if Ya were not to be blamed, they had no choice but to make Ya work for them later on. Ya was surprised to see that Taka regained his composure too quickly, but realized it was all a tough act, and that he was really scared. Taka stated it was surely a reasonable thing to do for them. Taka was just putting up a bold front. Then Sakurako spoke up telling him there was no such logic and warned him that the money-lending business Taka was in was by all means illegal, which meant that they didn't even need to calculate interests on that. Taka stated that if he were to be scared of such warnings, he wouldn't be in this money-lending business, that he called Sakurako a freaking lawyer who couldn't do anything to him. He asked her what she could do to him, and dared her if she had the guts to do so. Ya could see that Taka was putting himself through the grinder, and there was no doubt that his heart must be pounding, while he broke out in a cold sweat inside. Sakurako then spoke up in a cute way, saying some dramatic lines like "My papa was the coolest man in all of Japan." She teased Taka by saying this, as this was exactly what his daughter said to him every day, while calling her cute as well. She continued saying how his daughter used to speak that her papa had been putting his best at work for the sake of mama and herself every day because he left in the morning and came back late at night. But he always gave her goodbye and goodnight kisses on the cheek, while giving mama on the lips. Taka was left speechless to see how accurate Sakurako was, and more importantly, how she got to learn about that. Sakurako then teased him, saying it was daring to do anything in front of a first grader. She wondered what his daughter would grow up thinking in the future if he kept on kissing in front of the child. Her words, even though she claimed it was out of concern, it could be felt that they had a threatening message behind them. Taka realized that he couldn't do anything against them, while they could do a lot. Yua was shocked as well to see Taka's head down out of defeat, making him realize that the mother and daughter's duo was surely scary. Sakurako then warned him by reminding Taka that he had told his wife that he was just a typical salaryman. Taka told her this matter had nothing to do with his wife or kid, to which Sakurako said it was exactly what she meant. And just like that, Yua had nothing to do with his father's debt, and not be held responsible to pay it back either. Yua didn't know much about the law, but he kind of felt that if his parents were the cause of trouble for Taka and the others, then as their son, he should have to do whatever they wanted. Besides that, Taka had been very caring of him from the start, like a big brother. Then Sakurako spoke up that if the debt is not paid by Yuya, then it might not be okay with Taka or his boss, which was why she took out some paper to make a deal with them. Taka took the papers and read them. He was shocked to read its contents. Taka asked her if she was in her right mind, and exactly what she was thinking. He asked her if she was really a lawyer, to which she agreed and admitted she was just an ordinary lawyer, but it was just that her employer was rich. Taka was left a bit confused, then he just agreed to her way of things, and ended this matter here. He promised that he would never lay a hand on Yuya, of which Yuya couldn't understand why he said that. He couldn't believe that the contents of the letter were enough to pay his huge debt in its entirety, that he was feeling creeped out about it. Then Sakurako confirmed that Yua's father's debt was paid in full, and called his dad an asshole for being one. Yuya wondered if she knew his father since she had been talking casually about him. Taka confirmed to Yuya as well that the amount was paid now, because of which he was also glad for Yuya, as he would now get to live a straight and honest life like he wished for him. Yuya couldn't understand what Taka was saying, or what exactly the conversation was leading up to. Then Kik came closer, and held his hands with a smile on her face that he got flustered from her being too close to him, as she told him next that he could now relax, and she would tell him everything. She assured him it would be fine, and he had no problems from now on. Ya's eyes were relieved to finally have some ease. But he noticed that Ki was trembling a bit. Sakurako then mentioned that they should now lead the two to Taka out, and asked Taka if he would like to have some tea with her, as the fellow members of Yuya's father victims group. Taka declined, saying it would bring nothing but Korean trouble if he gets involved with any of them, that he instructed other members of his team to move out as well. And before leaving he made a declaration to Yuya that from this point on their relationship was ended, and he doubted they would ever see each other again. He asked him to take care of him. While Yuya could understand that Taka was trying to play it cool, but he knew where Taka lived. He got to know about it from his wife, who asked him that he could come back anytime to meet Rika, the daughter of Taka, so he could actually meet him anytime. Now that things were settled, Sakurako also left the rest to Ki. She thanked her mother, and Sakurako said sorry to Yuya for startling him like this. She told him that things won't be the same as they had been before, but he would still get to live the normal high school life. After she left, they both were alone. Then Yuya asked Ki what was wrong with her, since she had been shaking quite a lot. He asked her if she was holding up all right, to which she asked him what he was talking about, trying to play dumb about her not shaking. She claimed it was surely not because she had been standing in front of those scary guys, and she agitated herself more than necessary, so that he wouldn't notice. And it wasn't like she was now feeling the fear from back then now that she was alone. She talked a lot, and he was sure now that Ki had surely been scared of Taka. He held her hands gently and told her that he would serve some tea for her, while she could take a short rest in the living room, and tell him the whole story later. She agreed to him, and decided to properly explain it to him. She told him that the debt left by his parents was paid off, but there was a condition, which was that Yuya would have to live with her from now on. She said it with such a bright smile. While Yuya was left shocked, he was more shocked by the fact that he would get to live with her, and couldn't believe Ki at all was saying that he was then scared by the fact that now he would be killed not only by all the boys at the school, but also by all her fans in the whole Japan. She stated that she would now explain it to him, so they should now go to the living room. She asked him to get moving and follow after her, with a bright smile on her blushing face. Yuya felt happy to have Ki call out his name with a smile like that of a goddess, which was near perfect in all aspects, enough to captivate anyone. But the only flaw in her right now was that her legs were still trembling with fear. After that, they went to the living room to talk about things, and she stated that she would now explain the situation Yao was in right now. She said it could be summarized as well in just a few words, and told him that he had now become her property. She said it was all there was to it, with an innocent look on her face. She told him that was all to it, but after hearing just that, he couldn't be convinced that it was really even an explanation at all. She thought it would be pointless to give out a long explanation, so she tried to keep it short and simple. He told her it wouldn't work, needing more explanation about just when he became her property. He asked her not to treat him like he was her pet she just bought, and explained properly, and told him that he would be her pet from now onwards. She liked the sound of it, and Yao understood that she really had no intention of explaining anything to him despite what she said. She was chuckling while blushing, as if she kept losing herself in her own fantasies quite much. Even so, she looked just about pretty, which he thought was on the level of being illegal. She then told him not to drink tea with that much sound, and apologized for having a bit too much fun with him. She then continued to tell him why he became her property, and told him that it was obviously because of his father, who came begging in tears to her mother. He did so because his father and Keith's mother both knew each other from long since they had the same elementary, middle, and high schools, like friends with an inseparable relationship. She had heard rumors about his father being useless, but ever since their high school graduation, they had never contacted each other. Then a month ago, he suddenly contacted her and asked Keith's mother to help him. At first, her mother wanted to refuse to help him, because no matter how inseparable their friendship was, he got into trouble because of himself. Sakurako told her that Yuya's mother, who was always cheering for his father, was as much guilty. He couldn't understand what his piece of shit dad was thinking, and felt that once he returned from overseas, he would beat him up until he was satisfied. However, his father then cried and asked Sakurako to at least save his son. Yuya was moved to hear that, and Keith continued to say that his father said that Yuya did nothing wrong, and unlike him, he had a lot of potential, not wanting for his future to be ruined. His father said all of that while crying in tears. Yuya could understand the situation, but he wondered that Sakurako still had no reason to agree to help his father. And this might even add fuel to the fire, because to Keith's mother, he was just a random boy, so a hastily request would mean nothing but a shallow request. Keith then stated that he might be wondering why her mother decided to help, to which she claimed that the reason was because she selfishly asked her for it. His heartbeat fluttered by hearing that, making him nervous. He asked her how it was related to helping his father, because it was still someone else's debt they were talking about, that he had always been an honest and obedient good girl who never once acted selfishly. And just like that, her parents and grandparents were overjoyed when their adorable only daughter asked them for something selfish for the first time. They were so happy that they even made celebrations for that. Yuya was a bit dazed by the fact that she straight up called herself an honest and good girl, but decided to ignore that. He figured her family must have a considerable lack of common sense being overjoyed over their daughter being selfish. She then informed him that she actually had two selfish requests, among which the first one was that she wanted to help Yuya, because it was natural since he had done nothing wrong. She didn't really care about his parents, but couldn't just overlook his suffering because of their deeds. He couldn't understand why Kaede was concerned about someone like him, and he had his doubts even if he was extremely happy about someone being there to worry for him. After that, Kaede moved on to tell him about the second request, which was for him to become her property, which was indeed her most selfish request ever, no matter how he would feel. She declared that she wanted to live with him. He was surprised by the sudden bombshell dropped on him, and understood things even less than before. He told her it was going way past being selfish and directly telling her parents about living with him. Straightforwardly meant that she was proposing or confessing to him. She was a bit nervous to say it, but managed to let him know that she wanted to be with him, with a cute expression on her face. Yao felt extremely unfair to see how cutely she was telling these things to him. Like a goddess, and hearing this from her would bring about just any man down, but she continued to tell him the rest. Then her father went ahead to prepare the check, while her mother contacted his father to decide on some paperwork. He opened the documents only to be surprised by finding a written pledge inside it. It stated that Yuya's parents had approved of him living with Kaede, and him being adopted into Hitotsuba household when he turns 18 and graduates from high school. Furthermore, after the commencement of the cohabitation, Mr. and Mr. Yoshizumi would be permanently banned from having any kind of contact with their son, Yuya. His expression turned pale to hear this, and he shouted out loud on what the hell just happened to him. He would now not only be living with Kaede, but after graduation, they would also get married, and he would be adopted into their family. He couldn't believe that high parents actually approved this, but the fact that they had already signed on it showed both of their responses in favor. He could even guess how his mother might be happy about it, as he felt bad. Kaede assured him not to worry about anything, because she intended on providing for him. But since he had a good heart, she knew that he would feel bad for her taking care of him. So after he gets adopted into the Hitotsuba family, he would work alongside his father's side, and eventually become the president of the Hitotsuba group, which was also agreed upon in advance, that he couldn't understand just what was going on with this parent and child. And his parents were one thing, but the Hitotsuba family was completely on another level. They hadn't even met him before, and already allowed him to marry their one and only daughter, as well as to make him their next president. No matter how much he thought about it, it was really mind-blowing to even imagine. She confirmed it again for him, that his parents had already given their approval, so he didn't have the right to refuse anymore. She reminded him that if he tried to refuse it, he could guess what would happen to him. And he also had a bit of general guesses of him possibly becoming a slave, as an employee of the Hitotsuba group, or he would be sent underground like in the world of Manga, where he would never be able to see the light of the day until he died. She told him he had a good judgment indeed, and if he had really refused then, he might have become her butler for the rest of her life. And if that were to happen, kissing her or doing naughty things with her would be out of the question. Not only that, but she would make him experience hell where he won't be able to touch her even if she shows him her defenseless self. He could see where she was going, and for sure it would be a different kind of hell for him, that he never thought that the day would come when he would hear Keats saying naughty things like this. And no matter what she said, he could see that she was forcing herself given how red she was looking right now. He then imagined having a forbidden love with her didn't sound too bad, as his imagination went a bit wild. She told him it won't happen, and she won't allow forbidden love relationships, feeling flustered by all of that. After all, she just wanted to have a pure love which was better than any other, and asked him if he wouldn't want to profess his love proudly. He was amazed by her cuteness, and even though Keats at school was known as an impeccable beauty who was like an unapproachable flower on a high peak, for him to witness her like this was completely different. But she was just cute and innocent, which might just be her real self according to him, that he figured if that was the case, then it meant that he was one of the few people to know the real self of Keats. It made his heartbeat race faster, and he stated that he understood everything, so he decided to accept the negotiations. Also, it wasn't like he was trying to refuse because this proposal was like a godsend for him, that he got to live with and marry Keats, which was nothing short of a dream. He drank tea while feeling nervous after saying his decision out to her. He thought it would be fine to be able to live and marry a transcending beauty like hers, after which the president's seat of the company would be waiting for him, as well that he tried to deny that he was feeling lonely, but she could see it clearly on his face, and couldn't wait to ask him if he was hurting anywhere. He couldn't get what she meant, and told her that he wasn't hurting anywhere. She then asked if that was the case, then why he was crying right now, that he thought it was weird for him to feel like crying even after being freed from his stupid parents. But his tears weren't stopping. His chest started to feel like it would burst open right about any time, and tried to understand just why he was just crying. He then hugged him and told him it was alright for Yuya to feel like this. She made sure to let him know that she was with him now and promised to always be there for him just like this. He was feeling weak, because surely even if his problems were solved, it didn't change how he was just abandoned like this. He hugged her back and cried it all out on her shoulder, while she stayed like that to comfort him. She told him it was okay to feel lonely, which was obvious to see that he was suddenly alone, but she gave him hopes of a bright future and told him that he should be just as happy from now on. When he stopped crying, she asked him once he settled down, he should go and pack because they would be demolishing this house. He was shocked to hear that his house would be gone just like that, and once the plot would be really cleared, the house would be rebuilt and rented out, which would become a source of income for both of them. She then proceeded to tell him about their love nest being already prepared by her in advance. Unfortunately, since the next day was a weekend, they won't have school and just go shopping together. He couldn't get hold of everything she was saying to him, and as he calmed down, wiping his tears off, he was a bit unsettled to think that he might have his hopeless father's traits along with his blood, because he just made a life-changing decision on the spur of the moment. She then told him about Hiratsupa Electrical Appliances, which would have their 100-year anniversary, and they were big enough that Japan boasted about it to the world. They didn't only manufacture household appliances, but also went on to venturing other areas such as renovation services, electrical vehicles, infrastructure development, and so on. Their business was expanding continuously on a global scale, making them an extremely distinguished leading firm than anyone else. Her father, Hiratsuba Kazuhiro, was the fourth generation to lead it, and even though it was an old-fashioned hereditary system, he often said that they should pierce through all the difficulties with efforts, and it was decided already now that you would be following in her father's footsteps. She told him to be prepared, while he felt like it was a death sentence for sure. He understood that going out in the society needed one to be diligent every day, but he couldn't believe that they would just tell a high school freshman to work hard in order to become the president of one of the most renowned enterprises with tens of thousands of workers. She stated that he might understand better once he entered the university, but a public university would be good as well, although she was too thoughtful on that to make sure he won't go to a private university, that he told her that he won't be able to work at his father's place if he goes to university. She asked him if he intended to waste his time at some part-time job or some circle, while he should be spending time by her father's side learning various things. He felt like he was being stabbed by her sharp words, and he knew that Ki was already having many delusions about him. She then held his necktie and told him that he should just focus on her. She knew already that he was a hard worker and promised that no matter how unique his fetishes were, he could expect her to meet his expectations, as she came closer to tell him that he must never do it with other girls ever. He felt like he would collapse from having a beauty so close to him. While she winked at him, that he agreed with everything she said, and asked her why she wanted to help him because he thought that they didn't really know each other. She agreed to him that they had barely talked at school before, but she had been watching him for a very long time. He was a bit astonished to hear that. Then she continued to tell him that she used to watch his after-school soccer practice. Soccer was one of the things he had played from his childhood till now, and on a certain day of the summer she was just passing by, when her eyes fell upon him practicing hard, even if the sun had already set, and everyone had returned home as well. She then kept watching him day after day, earnestly kicking the ball at the goal with an expression to never give up, which he didn't use to show much aside from the practice. When she saw him, she thought that he was a different person from her, who could put his heart into something and give it his all. After that, something interesting happened, which was that she fell for him before he knew it. And from that day onwards, she always kept rooting for him, while praying hard for his hard work to be rewarded. But her prayers didn't reach because his hard work was not rewarded. He remembered sadly as well how he dreamed of making it to nationals, but in the end, his team was eliminated in the third round of the district tournament. His daily practice didn't bear fruit, but the more interesting thing for her was that even after the defeat, Ya didn't lose hope, and the next day he was kicking the ball all alone as usual. Even though she thought that he might rest for a while or stop practicing alone, he kept working hard at it. She was in love with how he didn't give in to despair, and had a strong heart, proving in her eyes just how amazing he was. She admitted to him that her heart became glued to him, to which he felt a bit bad to tell her that he was not really that splendid of a person. But she said now no matter what he said, she had already fallen in love with how he put his heart in things he did. She decided to take her measures to make him hers before someone else notices his charm and takes him away. She wanted to make sure he would only look her way as she reached out her hand to his face. Meanwhile, he was thinking that Ki had been chosen as the cutest high school girl in Japan, and thinking of it made him overjoyed. He couldn't believe that she was charmed by him kicking a ball like an idiot every day. Teed had been watching him from afar and fell in love, yet he didn't know anything about her, that he knew that if he were to be asked whether he liked her or not, his answer would be that he doesn't know. He sat her down and said he understood her feelings, and let her know that he was indeed very happy to receive a confession from a beautiful girl like her. But he stated that he didn't know much about her, which was why he couldn't respond to her feelings right now that Keith heard him, and told him it was fine. She had expected this much from him. She could understand that apart from her outward appearance, he didn't know her as Keith, so it was okay that he couldn't give an answer to her. She was happy to have that answer from him, which skyrocketed her favorability. That he could see it was appropriate to say that outward appearance mattered. But even more, one needed to know a person to fall for them. At minimum, his criteria were to have fun being with his partner, making sure whether they would stay with him or not, and if they would properly look at his inner self and be understanding of it. Relationships which started dating because of appearances collapsed in no time, and as for him, he didn't want to go through that. She then giggled, saying that her methods, even if they were forceful, they were successful in removing the obstacles between them. She knew he couldn't understand, though, that one could also make another day, "I like you," and kiss them just like that, as she fell into her fantasies again. With seeing her being live Devi like this, Kida's image in his mind as the precious beauty was ruined. However, he was glad to be able to start understanding her a little more now. He told her that she indeed had quite a gap between the way she acted at school and home. She then pointed a finger at his face and told him that every person wears a mask, which applied to himself as well. She mentioned whether he was doing it unconsciously or not. The Uwaya at home and the Uwaya playing soccer were like different people. She then asked him which one of Kida's nature was an act or her true self. He thought about it and said that both of them were good in their own ways, and he couldn't really just draw a conclusion based on which one was her true self because he didn't know much about her in the first place. But if he had to go with what she said to him up to now, they could understand each other gradually. The composed Keed was a cool and dignified girl while being reliable as well, which he liked. Whereas the gap between her cute self, who kept laughing while being immersed in her own delusions, making a sloppy face, getting shy and going bright red, was cute indeed as well. She was excited to hear that, and answered that she also wanted to know more about him, such as his favorite food, the type of girl he liked, his fetishes and the situations he liked, and other things as well. She said that she should give it their best, and tried to whisper something in his ears, but he stopped her midway by putting his hand on her lips and said that they should leave the rest for later and get to know more about each other first. She was like tossing a bomb the moment he got a bit defenseless, that he figured that he couldn't catch a break while dealing with her. Moreover, she said that with a flushed face while slightly averting away, which was exactly why he was a bit troubled by her cuteness. For him, everything about her was unpredictable, leaving him wanting to doubt her. Daddy told her that this was enough joking around for now, and they should get to packing soon. She told him to get just the minimum amount of luggage, then they would get to move. He asked her where they would be moving now, to which she told him it was obvious that they would be moving to their love nest, that he was left in shock to know that they would really be going to live under the same roof from the same day. After that, they were in the imported luxury car around 9 p.m., seeming to be going somewhere. The car's owner was obviously Key, who was sitting next to him. Her face looked completely changed from a while ago, as if it was so dignified and beautiful he couldn't help but admire even more, but was too embarrassed to admit this to her. He asked her where this car was headed, or where she was taking him, to which she reminded him they were going to their love nest, which her father made sure to pick the best room out of everywhere else. He wasn't doubting her, but he asked again if what she said was a lie earlier. She made a cute expression trying to play dumb, which was confusing him even more. He couldn't help but sigh as they were now in the popular Bay Area, where there were many condos which were basically like first-class hotels. He looked outside of the window of the place, which was completely out of reach of high school students. She was glad to see he was well informed, which was indeed an essential skill to have as a member of society. While he had been taking after his dad, who used to always watch television for getting information about trendy stuff, while he just read the news between his soccer practice breaks, so he couldn't be sure of knowing a lot. She told him if he could do this much at this point, then it was good enough for the future, which would also benefit him a lot to work under her father. He assured him not to worry about anything, and she believed in him, that he got shy from hearing compliments from her, and looked in another direction to hide his red face. She told him he looked cute while blushing, and in the time they were talking, they had now successfully arrived at their destination. And she told him that this would be their new home, that he was shocked to see this building, which was as luxurious as the place he just talked about in the car. He found it hard to believe that he would be going to live in a place like this with Keith, and she told him that their place was on the top floor. She came and wrapped her arms around his, stating they should go now, that he was feeling a lot nervous, that he needed to try hard just to not faint, from her arms linked to his, as they entered the elevator. Earlier he tried to bring his stuff himself, but the driver told him that he would do the task and asked him to not take his job. He was alone with her in the elevator, feeling nervous while she seemed to be enjoying herself. She leaned her shoulders to his as they soon arrived at their floor. The moment he entered their house, he couldn't believe just how spacious it was everywhere, with all the luxury furniture, items, along with top-level cleanliness. She smiled and asked him if he liked it, to which he replied with a question if they would really be going to live here. She told him yes, it was a reality which he would need to accept, and it would be okay because she claimed to be good at cooking. She told him that she would cook whatever he wanted with a smile, and Ya could cook as well, but decided that they should take turns, or rather have a roster system. He knew it wouldn't be good to leave everything up to just one of them, and took another look around the house. Even the living and dining rooms were ridiculously large. The dining table and the chairs had calming designs, with the sofa which was too large for 2 people. The TV in their room was also large, while the most eye-catching feature about their room was the view outside the windows, which made it better with the elegant and glittering night view of the bay from the large windows, that he started having fantasies to hold her shoulders and give them a squeeze followed by a passionate kiss, after which they could take it further. But he stopped his thoughts just in time, feeling more nervous. He kept his hand on his face, trying to hide what he was thinking. Then she asked about his face being red. He told her it was no problem at all, and made sure to her that he was not clearly having any strange thoughts. He made it clear that they need to get to know each other better before doing anything. Until then, sexual relationship was a big no. She giggled on seeing him being all nervous, and told him he was really a strange person. She liked the part about him being a gentleman, which made him nervous, even further being complimented by her, like that he didn't want her to keep raising his favorability in her mind anymore, or he might lose his sleep over it. He feared the reaction of not being able to live up to her expectations later on. She then told him they should have dinner now and clapped, after which someone rang the door, and she went to check it in the door camera. After making sure it was her man serving outside, she opened the door to receive the baggage from earlier along with the pizza, which would be in their dinner. She asked him if they should eat before it gets cold with a big smile on her face. He watched her holding 2 pizzas and understood that it must have been the driver who went to get them. She thanked Miyamoto, her driver, and asked if he would like to eat with them, as he might have not had dinner yet either. Miyamoto said it was okay as his work ended here, and also he couldn't disturb the two. He bowed and took his leave, while Yuria was amazed to see his discipline. Miyamoto had mostly gray hair, and he called himself an old soldier, but his back was straight, and his voice was full of spirit. He didn't seem to be that old at all, with his elegance adding more to it. He was truly an elderly gentleman in his eyes. She heard him, and told him that Miyamoto had been a professional driver since the time of her grandfather. So it wasn't an exaggeration to say he was just like a family to them. Miyamoto also drew boundaries in that regard. So after this, they decided to eat pizza before it gets cold, and he figured that he didn't need to ask when she ordered the pizza, which might have been very good at the time when he was packing. There were also Cokes with the pizza. And what more, he found it surprising to see that a beauty like Kaede could eat junk food with such glee. She was glad to hear that and told him it was now one more thing he knew about her. He realized that one couldn't judge a book by its cover, and the public image that people had of Kaede was really just an image. While she was just a normal high school girl, she hoped that they would get along well, and handed him cola. He took it and feeling relaxed, he opened the cola, but the cola spread all over his face, and she laughed because apparently she managed to pull a prank on him. He learned another thing about her, but feeling dumb about himself to be pranked so easily, that he learned that Kaede was also a prankster despite her innocent appearances. After doing the dinner, he was full and decided that it was about time to take a bath. He asked her if it was okay for him to go to the bath now, and she told him that gas, electricity, water were all available now, so it was okay for him to use anything, that he figured he could explore the house a bit before heading to the bathroom. So he checked out all the rooms, but when he went to check the bedroom, it caught his attention the most because there was a king-sized bed with 2 pillows and a comforter. It looked just like a bedroom for one of those lovely-dovey married couples. But he thought since there was still some more time to go to bed, he would leave thinking of bed for later and bath for now. He went to the bathroom, which was surprisingly large just like the other areas of the house. Then he noticed that the bathtub had been thoughtfully large enough for 2 people to be able to stretch their legs while being inside, which would make them able to even bathe together if he wanted. He figured it would be bad, and just thinking about it made him feel things he shouldn't feel right now. He was shy and felt like it was only a matter of time when he might lose his sense of reasoning, go flying out of window, and even if they would not be bathing together, that he couldn't handle his fantasies, which couldn't be handled even more if a high school boy were to be living with a goddess like Kaede. Then she appeared behind him, saying that she wouldn't mind if some mistakes were to happen between them. She caught him off guard by sudden appearance, and said that she would wholeheartedly welcome anything. Meanwhile, before he knew it, she was standing right behind him with her arms crossed and a straight face, but her legs were shaking a little bit. He could sense that even though she welcomed anything, she was actually nervous. He told her that he can't forcibly do such things to a girls. After all, he believed they could only do things like that when they were in love with each other. She stated that she still hadn't said anything, but she would be happy if he felt that way. She admitted that she won't take back what she said about welcoming her, and he could keep that in mind. She always kept on saying things which made his heart skip a beat, which might end up making him fall for her even harder. He sighed and then looked at her, being sure that something would definitely happen between them. But he wanted to resist those feelings just a little, because he wanted to get to know more about her. She asked him if he was going to take a bath by himself, to which he told her that saying something like taking bath together was meaningless if she was obviously nervous about it. She was a bit surprised to see he noticed that and averted her eyes, trying to deny it. She told her it could be because his eyeballs might be shaking, and she was perfectly normal that he laughed seeing her trying to deny it, while he went quickly to prepare the bath for himself. He sent her outside claiming to take a bath alone, while she could watch TV in the meanwhile. He told her not to peep no matter what, but she seemed to be delighted by some other imagination inside her mind hearing that. She asked him if that was a thing to peek at when asked not to, and somehow she ended up thinking of it as a sign to just peek at him. He was a bit weirded out by her persistence, while she told him to be more honest with her if he meant her to take a peek. Seeing that she didn't want to listen to him, he noticed that it was usually a boy trying to look at a girl, but it was reversed here, that he thought that normally she must be asking him not to peek at her, to which she said that she would rather welcome it. He wanted her to match her comments with her actions, because she was confusing him right now. He obviously felt shy himself to be asked like that, And she was looking very cute right now at that he told her he got it, and would peek at her whenever he got the chance, while saying that he didn't like to be peeked at, so asked her to go outside. She puffed her cheeks, not being able to peek at him. He went to get the change of clothes for after the bath, and while coming back he looked at the TV and other appliances, that he noticed there weren't some things like washing machines or refrigerators and daily preparation supplies. Like there were knives, but not dishes. He tried to think of what he was supposed to do now, to which she came and reminded him that she told him they would be going shopping the next day. She said they would buy dishes in the morning, then appliances like washing machines and refrigerators. Although she could have gotten them herself, she decided not to do that. He could understand a man and a woman who start living in the same apartment to go shopping together. But high school students going shopping felt a bit unusual. Besides, there were things like what about money? He asked her that she could have gotten appliances from her father, as they had a manufacturing company, to which she said that her father wanted them to buy and decide what they wanted to buy for themselves. She agreed with that and asked Tia that would be okay with him. He knew even if she asked that he didn't really have any choice, because he might be forced to agree with her on that opinion as well. He also kind of wanted to buy things like that personally, so he was okay to go shopping for them. She was excited to hear him saying that it would be fun to choose home appliances. She agreed to him, and since they would be living together from now on, she wanted to choose something they both could agree on. It made her smile, and looking forward to tomorrow, that he smiled as well, seeing how simple and good-natured Keith was, and this all felt like a dream to him. He remembered everything that happened in a single day, that his shithead dad got into debt and fled overseas, which led him to almost be taken away as Taka's underling, but she saved him. It was decided for him to live together with her and get married regardless of his intentions. Thus they have moved now into a new condo, and tomorrow they will be going on a date to buy daily supplies. Now that the bath was ready, Ki got behind him and said they should get in, while offering to wash his back. He flicked her for trying to trick him so casually, and told her even if she was fine with that it was still embarrassing for him. So he asked her to be a good girl and stay here. But when he went to the bath and got into the tub, she came right afterwards and tried to open the door, but he had made sure to lock it. She kept asking him if he needed her inside, but he didn't know what to do now and just stayed silent. He doesn't know how long he would be able to endure her, or it might be that he had already started to feel cozy around her, that he wondered over it, while slowly getting soaked in the warm water and his deep thoughts. He then started to think about what to do about the bedroom problem next. After some time she asked him why he was insisting on sleeping alone, that he averted his eyes from her to dodge the question. He knew he would have to confront this problem sooner or later, and remembered while she was taking a bath. He was just relaxing in the living room watching videos, but at that time she kept calling out Yuga in a teasing way, trying to ask him to take a peek at her, for which she kept her door unlocked, that he tried his best to ignore that. And before that, when he was in the bath, he thought a lot about the bedroom problem. He couldn't think of a way out, learning that this was indeed a very complex matter like politics. He told her that he was not a delinquent who would want to sleep with a girl, so he would just sleep on the sofa in the living room. She straight up declined him, making an angry face and telling him that he was delinquent enough, so he should sleep with her. She asked him angrily, why was he keeping on insisting to sleep on the sofa when they had a fluffy and comfortable bed big enough for two? She told him that she would cry if they were to start living together under the same roof, by sleeping separately. So now they were both sitting on the opposite ends of the bed debating this topic. She looked so beautiful having just taken a bath, and her flushed face added so much more to her charm. He figured if he were to get a little closer to her, he might not be able to stop certain things from happening between them, which one could only imagine that he would sleep on the top quality bed, but thought that as a man and a woman who aren't in a relationship, suddenly sleeping in the same bed was improper. He made it clear to Kaede that no matter how okay she was with it, he was not. She asked him why, and after thinking understood that he was worried about him attacking her in sleep. She asked him if she got it right, and he was surprised to see how she could say that with a happy face. He also couldn't settle on her being so close to him suddenly, and then he slipped from the bed. She asked him if he was okay, but he told her he was okay, and asked her not to come any closer to him. He said if she came any closer, then he might go crazy. She smelled citrusy, and he wondered if she already knew that he liked that smell. And if that was the case, she was surely a good tactician. The combined smell of her shampoo and body soap was so perfect, and if he gave in to his impulses, then he would hold her tightly right away. She smirked and told him it was okay if he hugged and smelled her like a puppy. Even if it might be a little embarrassing, she would hold her tight and might even pat him, that he asked her how she could tell what was going through his mind, to which she stated she could always see through him. She told him she could easily tell his feelings by looking at her face. He was flustered to know that his face was so easy to read right now, and hid it with his hand, that it was so embarrassing for him. But even so, he did his best not to give in to his desire that easily. He refused to yield, and seeing him struggle, she understood him. She told him that she was planning to cuddle him to sleep, but now she would give up seeing his current state. However, she put the condition that he would have to sleep in the same bed as her, because if he slept in another room, then he might end up catching a cold. She stated he was free to do so, unless he had a nurse fetish, trying to implore that she would become a nurse for him if he fell asleep, which would be even more troublesome for him. She thought it would be good as well, then started thinking, then got lost in her fantasies, yet again starting to smile. She then teased him by saying that she would surely wipe off his sweat, so he should take off his clothes and listen to her obediently. He flicked her, then yelled out not to make up weird fantasies like that. She got back in the moment, and told him she was having a good one, and he was terrible to not let her continue, for which she gave you a punishment to sleep with her. Yuka told her there should be a limit to how unreasonable she could get. She came closer to him while pouring, and seeing her getting mad, he finally admitted defeat, and agreed to sleep on the same bed as her, but with distance between them. He wasn't that much of a restless sleeper or hugger, so he thought he would be all right, but if something happened then he would be in trouble. Whereas she stated that she was both a restless sleeper and a hugger, but she would be asleep, so she asked him to forgive her if anything happened. He told her that he would throw her back as mercilessly as he could, and keep that in her mind. She was intrigued by it, and told him he was one of a kind to throw her out of a bed. She stated it was what she liked about him. She smiled and looked at him while he looked away from her, being bashful. The way she always said things like that so casually never failed to make him blush, and he thought that the word like was light for her. She told him that she only said it to him apart from her family, that she liked him, so she asked him to never think of it as a light word for her. He understood then, and immediately went to sleep on his side. She looked at him with a smile and told him that she would go to dry her hair first before going to bed. She wished him good night, and he wished her back, after which his desperate attempt to fall asleep kept going. But he couldn't do so despite how nervous he was. Even the faint sound of her hair dryer felt awfully loud to him, and it stopped some time later, as Keith got back to bed. She was careful not to make any noise, and went to fall asleep immediately. The sounds of her breathing were cute to him, and then he fell to ease, followed by closing his eyes while listening to her breathe. He felt that he must have been quite tired, because he hadn't slept like this in a long time. While sleeping he had a dream where he was standing still, and his parents were in front of him, saying it was where they say goodbye to him, and telling him to keep himself, well, that he tried to stop them by reaching out his hand. He tried to tell them that he also wanted to go with them. Then suddenly his sleep broke. He found himself reaching out his hand upwards and breathing heavily, that he realized it was just a dream. So he got up from the bed. Keith was sleeping well by his side, while he went outside the bedroom to the living room. He was still scared from the dream, and feeling heavy in the chest, that no matter how good of life he was living now, he couldn't get past the painful fact that his parents abandoned him. However, Keith came and saved him, leading to both of them living together before he knew it. This was an establishment which he knew wouldn't disappear like his parents. There were good times and bad times, but even so he thought that he would be with Hi Ma and Dad forever, but they just went away without him. He felt weak and fell on his knees, feeling sad about why they just didn't take him along with them. He missed his dad and mom a lot, and started crying out. He kept crying for quite a while. Then while wiping off his tears he heard Keith calling out his name, as if she was standing behind him. But by the time he looked back he realized she wasn't there. He thought if he was just imagining things, as there was no way Keith would wake up since she was sleeping well, that he remembered how kind she had been to him, and always smiles whenever she was with him. He felt better by thinking of her, then came back to bedroom being careful not to make any noise. Then he encountered a weird sight, that Keith was sleeping while smiling. What more was that she was sleeping on the side where he was sleeping earlier. He was sure she had been sleeping on the opposite side before and couldn't think of how she got to beside. He thought she might just be tossing around in sleep, so seeing there was no use in thinking about it, he laid down at the spot where she was sleeping. Before that he abandoned his thoughts when he got into the bed and sank his face into the pillow Keith was using. The fresh scent of hers and the lingering warmth of hers soothed him, and if possible, he didn't want to let go of this warmth of hers. He closed his eyes again while thinking of her this time, and slept well across the night. That he woke up and saw her sleeping well very close to him, which left him nervous, because of which he couldn't go back to sleep. She slept well, and he got heavy-headed when he didn't get enough sleep. So at times like this he couldn't help but to try taking a good hot bath to freshen himself up. While the bath was being prepared, he waited out in the living room feeling lazy. Then he saw the gamer with controllers ahead along with the latest 4K OLED TV. He smiled and thought of playing a game, but he figured that he could not do that, as if he would have fun playing it. Then Kaede would feel lonely to see him play alone, that he could think if his live-in partner did something to have fun on their own. Excluding him, then he would surely feel lonely as well. So thinking that she might feel the same way, he didn't play games. He got up knowing that he couldn't play games while she wasn't around, that he noticed there was no fridge in this house. So he wondered what he would do about the breakfast. Then suddenly Miyamoto appeared and wished him good morning. He wondered where he came from, then noticed that Miyamoto's hands were filled with 2 bags from a familiar hamburger chain, that he asked him if he got them for Keith and Yuya, to which Miyamoto agreed. He wondered if Miyamoto could read his mind, and wondered why there were hamburgers, and they didn't seem to be light on the stomach, and Miyamoto told him that was the direct request from Keith. Appears she had asked Miyamoto to bring her those things to eat in the morning, that he was shocked to know how far she thought of it. But having pizza for dinner and a burger in the morning were surely not good. He wondered if she liked to eat junk that much, and felt a bit uneasy, because she had told him that she would treat him to her cooking the next day. Miyamoto asked him to rest assured, telling him that Keith's dish was quite peculiar, but he couldn't guarantee the taste. Kaede and Yuya having their breakfast together. She was asking Yuya where he wanted to go first later in the day. She asked him with an excitement clear on her face. She continued to say that she was thinking that they would look at some cutlery as their first stop, and then continued to see the appliances. Yuya was still focusing on munching on his food, when Keith asked Yuya's opinion again on her idea. Still getting no answer, Kaede asked him again if he was still mad at her for suddenly barging into the bathroom, but Yuya did not give any response. Kaede then assured him that she would not do that anymore and told him to loosen up. However, the way she was saying that was not really assuring, so she might still do that again in the future. She added that she would do it properly the next time on the bed as Yuya wished, so she asked him to forgive her, letting out a meow and all. However, after all that, Yuya did not seem to be impressed. He was still sulking and ignoring Keith. Then, Yuya finally said, albeit stutteringly, that he would make an exception and forgive her only this once, that he told her that the next time she did something like that again, he really would not talk to her anymore. He stressed that he would not talk to her for about 3 hours. Instead of getting intimidated, Keith just said that Yuya was cute and that she liked this side of him. Yan just smirked in return. Then Keith said that now they already had breakfast. She asked Yuya to get dressed quickly since Miyamoto would pick them for shopping. Yuya agreed and started getting ready. As he was getting ready, Yuya was mumbling to himself that it did not take long for him to get ready. All he needed to do was put on some clothes quickly, fix his hair, and then just wait. That he needed to fix his hair because he just wanted to try to look a little nicer when he stood next to a goddess like Kaede. Without him knowing, Kaede had been listening in on what Yuya said to himself. She told him not to worry and said that he was cool just the way he was. And she also liked what was inside his heart more, and that his appearance was secondary to her. Keith told Yuya not to get worked up since it mattered not what other people say. Yuya seemed to be touched and awed hearing what Keith said to him, that he did not really know what to say. After they finished getting ready, Miyamoto picked them up, and they all went to the store. They were checking out home appliances like they had planned. Yuya narrated that they had lunch and snacks, and afterwards, they went to an electronics retail store to buy a set of home appliances. They also bought a fridge. He mentioned that that was surprisingly hard. Yuya mentioned that Keith remembered seeing a thin clerk wearing glasses on television who was knowledgeable and well-informed. She met a similar-looking girl clerk at the store and started talking to the clerk about this and that. Yuya also mentioned that the clerk did not care that both Yuya and Keith were high school students. She really listened to what they wanted and what they wanted to be able to do, and she also suggested products that would meet their needs one by one. The way the clerk talked was interesting, and she offered them a discount as well. She was very nice. Yuya also added that what was more interesting was that the more they listened to the clerk, the more they decided on appliances from Hiratsuba Electric a world-class brand. Also, Yia mentioned that of course Keith paid everything they decided to buy off in full with cash. Keith informed that her father entrusted her with funds, but she had to report what home appliances they had bought. She also said to the clerk that she would mention her name when she did the report and asked the clerk for her business card. The clerk of course said yes, seemingly a bit nervous and very elated at the same time. Keith thanked the girl clerk, saying that because of her, she had a very pleasant showing experience that day. She also told her that she would be sure to let her father know about the clerk. The clerk bowed respectfully, and eventually the clerk would go on to climb the ladder of success, rising to the executive level. After they finished shopping, Keith looked at the time on her phone, and it said 7:20 p.m. already. Keith said that it took longer than she thought. She then offered Yuya that they should have dinner at home. Yuya agreed and said that he could cook something up, like some pasta, for both of them if Keith was okay with it. Keith asked Yuya if he was going to make the food, making sure about what she heard. Yuya said absolutely, and he mentioned that he did have a craving for her cooking, but it did not have to be that day. There would be plenty of opportunities in the future for that. Keith excitedly agreed to what he said. She said that she would show him her skills in cooking the next day, so she told him to be prepared. Then Yuya said that since that was decided, he asked her to hurry up so they could meet up with Miyamoto and go to the supermarket. Keith agreed and said that she really could not wait for Yuya's cooking. Back at their place, Keith was trying the pasta that Yuya had cooked. Keith said that the food was good, even asking Yuya if he was a genius. Yuya laughed after hearing that. He said that if he was a genius, then all the chefs in the world are complete sods. He could not even imagine what the Michelin star holders must be like. Keith then said that she could not let him win, and told him to look forward to the next day. She told him that she would make something that he liked. Yuya asked her if she knew what he liked, and she said yes. Then Keith confidently said that Yuya's favorite dish was hamburger steak. She added that Yuya usually eats sweetbreads, but on days when hamburger steaks were served in the school cafeteria, he always ate them. Then she asked him if she was wrong, although she was very confident. Yuya just told her that she was correct, and that she knew a lot. Keith said that she did know a lot. From his taste to his dislikes and the lively conversations Yuya had with his friends, she knew everything about him. She said those to Yuya with a smug look on her face. She then asked Yuya if his current obsession was a recently released fantasy game, and it seemed that he liked how charming the childhood friend heroine was in the game, and she asked him if she was the one with huge bosoms. That question on top of what Keith said made Yuya flabbergasted, that he was speechless. Then, as they were drinking their tea, Keith got serious and told Yuya that she wanted to ask something to him. Yuya noticed the serious look on Keith, and he told her that he would answer whatever he could. Keith said that she would ask freely. Taking a deep breath, she started to ask her questions still with a serious look. She asked him if he liked women, like the heroine in the game, who have big bosoms. Yuya seemed surprised by her question. Keith then went on to say that she herself thought that she did possess big bosoms, and that she did not think she was losing compared to everyone else. She then asked Yuya if she was unattractive and mentioned that she was voted the prettiest high school girl in Japan that day. She covered her face with her hands, feeling insecure. Then Yuya said how she thought that she was unattractive. He told her that he was one of the people who admired her, that he thought that she was a cool person, who also had a playful and talkative side. She said that literally everything she did is cute, and the fact that she tried to seduce him whenever she got a chance, and then ended up blushing like a peony, was so cute beyond words. Yao mentioned that when a girl like her said that he could do whatever he wanted to her, a normal person would not be able to stand it. Ya told Keith that all men like big-chested girls, and he warned her if she played too much, he would seriously attract her. Not feeling intimidated or scared, Keith just said that if it was with him, she would seriously be okay with that. She added that once Yuya really comes to like her, she would not go easy on him either. Seems taken aback, Yuya asked Keith what it was like when she went all out. Keith said that if she went all out, she would not let him sleep the entire night, and told him to just keep it at that. Then, Rihanna ran away to the bedroom, hiding under his blanket. Keith mumbled to herself that he got away again this time. The next morning, Yuya woke up and got ready for bed, that he dressed himself in his uniform, and prepared lunch for both him and Keith. When he looked at the time, it said 6:32, and it was time to wake Keith up. Throwback to the night before, Keith went to Ya's room, and told him to go to school together on the next day, that he was lying on his bed and closing his eyes. Keith's reason was that they lived together, then it was natural that they went to school together. It would be as if his childhood friend who lived next door came by to wake him up every morning. Ya thought to himself that it would not be like that since a world like that did not exist in real life, and even if it did, it was against astronomical odds. Ya told Keith that going to school together would be troublesome, because Keith was so beautiful that she got voted the prettiest high school girl in Japan. Yua was worried that a mass panic would ensue if she was suddenly seen going to school with a guy. However, Keith saw no problem with that. She said that they have been living together, so she would rather take that as an opportunity to show off. Yua asked her what exactly she was going to show off and to whom. Keith said that she was going to show off to everyone that Yuya is her boyfriend, and that she was not going to give him to anyone. What Keith said surprised Yuya. He was blushing and Keith noticed that. Keith mentioned to him that he was blushing again like a peony, and that he was a bashful guy. Ya just turned his back on her in return. He said that even if Keith said those things, he would not go to school with her. More like he couldn't because he said he did not want to die yet, but then he told her that if she wanted to go with him, she needed to wake up in the morning, because he would not be waking her up. Keith exclaimed, grabbing Yo's blanket, that he was cruel. She said that they slept on the same futon, so she asked him to wake her up since he knew she was not a morning person. Yua said that he was aware of that, but still, she should wake up by herself. Turns out Yua got up early that morning, just so that he would not have to go to school with Keith. But if he let her sleep any longer, she would be late. Yua seems to still have some conscience that he went on to check on Keith, seeing if she was still sleeping. He went into the room, asking if she was awake. Keith was waking up from her sleep at that time, but she was still half awake. Yua told her that she would be late if she did not wake up soon, giving her a soft tap on her shoulder. Keith said, still sleepily, that she was going to get changed, but then she put her hands up towards Yuya and told him to undress her. Yuya was so shocked that he was surprised by how she was reacting faster than him, even though she was not fully awake yet. Keith ordered Yuya again to undress her. If he did not help her get changed, she would end up being late, and she asked him if he would be okay with that. Apparently, Yuya had caught on to what Keith was doing. She was doing this on purpose because he noticed her eyes, which seemed drowsy just moments ago, turned shining brightly, and she got a grin on her face too. Yuya thought to himself that this is a bit annoying, though he did not mind that she was good at teasing, but if she did that to him, he would pay her back double. Then he grabbed her hands and told her he would get her undressed, and told her to throw her hands up. Keith was shocked. She was blushing so hard, but she still said okay nervously. Ya began to undress her, albeit very nervous. He was giving himself a pep talk inside his head. He was reassuring himself that it was no big deal, that he was just going to undress her quickly and turn around in a snap. That would keep him rational. When Keith's shirt was already off, Yua got very shocked when he found that Keith did not wear anything underneath her pajama shirt. All of a sudden, Keith hugged Yua, asking how long he would keep staring at her, calling him a pervert. Yua asked her why she was not wearing anything underneath. Knowing he just took off her shirt, Keith just laughed it off and said that she did not wear underwear at night. Yua thought that he would not have helped her undress had he known. Keith asked Yua if he was surprised by her prank, a satisfied look on her face. Yua noticed that and thought that her expression was showing the innocent face of someone who wanted to be praised after pulling off a successful prank. However, Yua felt that it was not a good feeling to let her keep getting him like that. Then he told her that he could not have been more surprised, and he warned her if she went too far, he would eat her out. Keith conceded and said that she would be careful. Yua then said that he would go to school, so he told her not to be late. On his way to school, Yua felt that he was all ready even though the day was about to start. His close friend Shinji greeted him and asked if something happened to him, because he looked more tired than usual that day. Yuya and Shinji played for the same soccer team, and he was his peerless partner on the pitch. Shinji was pretty small for a soccer player, but the creative passes he made were just right for Yuya's sensibility. His soft and sweet appearance combined with his friendly personality made him quite popular with the girls. Many schoolgirls confessed their feelings, but Shinji rejected them all and confessed his feelings to the girl he fell in love with at first sight. He and his girlfriend became super famous lovebirds in the school. Yuya greeted him back, that he told him that there had been a lot going on. Someone else joined in on their conversation, Nikaido, who noticed that despite all that, Yuya had got a smirk on his face. At Nikaido, Yuya's another close friend. Nikaido was also a big name in the school, rivaling Haito Tsuba, Kita's family name. Nikaido was the ace of the basketball club she belonged to, even though she was a first-year student. She had an androgynous and beautiful appearance with fine facial features. Her pixie hairstyle combined with her husky vocal sound has earned her immense popularity among girls as the Prince of Maywadai. Even Yai as a guy thought that she was handsome. In addition to that, she was a prodigy with top grades. She was so perfect she could be called a true prince. Yuya greeted Nikaido and told her that he was just mentally exhausted. She told Yuya even though that was the case, he should lighten up more or she would get depressed if he were like that next to her. Shinji agreed to what she said. In the classroom, Yuya was sitting next to Nikaido, and he asked what she was doing. Nikaido was reading a short story from Full Metal Panic. She mentioned that it was interesting no matter how many times she read it, and recommended Yuya to check it out. Yuya explained that the reason Nikaido and him started talking and got close was because they both have the same tastes. Shortly after school, Yuya saw Nikaido, who was sitting beside him, reading a book which was also his favorite light novel. They started talking and got along more because they also liked the same kinds of anime too. Shinji came to their table, asking Yuya again the reason why he was feeling mentally exhausted. Nikaido also added that he should not make a big deal out of it, and to just tell them. Then Yuya asked them about what kind of person Kei Hidotsuwa was. They were both confused as to why Yuya asked about Kei now when they knew for sure he already knew about her. But Yuya would say adamant. Nikaido would say that Kei was a flawless girl, and she heard that she had got good grades and was pretty athletic on top. She was also a super influencer who went 100% viral when she posted photos and videos on social media. Nikaido also added that during the National High School Girls Beauty Contest, apparently a number of major production companies approached her, but she turned them all down. The reason being that her dream was to just be a normal wife, which made her even more attractive. Apparently Kei said that in an interview when she won the Grand Prix, Nikaido mentioned that God really loved her. When asked about his point of view of Kei, Shinji said that he did not have much to say since Nikaido had covered almost everything, that he would say that Kei was very popular, and it seemed that many upperclassmen as well as classmates confessed their feelings, but Shinji heard that she rejected them all. In fact, Shinji added, he heard that she already had someone in mind, saying that that man was a lucky dog. When asked where he heard it from, Shinji said that he just overheard some people talking about it, so it was hard to say exactly. Then Nikaido asked if Yuya thought that the person was him, but Yuya rejected that thought, saying that Kaede was out of his league. Nikaido told him that instead of girls far up in the clouds, he needed to just focus on girls close to him. She also added that no boy in the school was enough for Kei to hit Atsupa, that in his mind. Yuya completely agreed with her. The school bell rang, signaling it was lunchtime. As soon as Yuya entered the lunch break, a sudden storm broke his peaceful days that a girl student came barging in on Yuya, asking if it was true that Kei confessed her feelings to him. The girl was Atsuki. Yuya was shocked that he asked her who told her that. Atsuki told him that Kei herself told her. She informed that the other day, Kei told her that she was going to confess her feelings to him, but she had not heard the result yet. Atsuki said when she asked her again, Kei just laughed the matter away. That's why Atsuki thought that she would just ask Yuya directly. Shinji tapped Atsuki's head. He told her that she had to be aware of her surroundings when she asked such sensitive questions. He pointed to Yuya, whose face had gone white, but Yuya said that it was no big deal. Atsuki asked Shinji if he did not want to ask too, and Shinji said that he was indeed curious about it. Then he now understood why Yuya asked such a question earlier that morning. Hearing that, Atsuki got even more curious and demanded to know what Yuya asked Shinji. For information, Akio Atsuki was a girl whom Shinji fell in love with at first sight, just after they all started school. She was also Kei's classmate. Yuya accused Atsuki of playing innocent when she was the one who just dropped a bomb. She was the one that started this mess, and then she just wanted to flirt. Atsuki said that she did not want to hear that from the main cause of Kei having the happiest face she had ever seen all morning. Shinji said that he was really curious to see what Kei looked like. Atsuki replied that she had made sure to take a perfect photo of it, just in case something like that happened. She then teasingly asked Yuya if he also wanted to see Diane's mind. Yuya admitted that he was very curious about Kei's happiest face ever, but it felt like it was admitting defeat to honestly ask her to show it. Nikaido asked Yuya about what Atsuki asked him earlier, whether it was true that Kei confessed her feelings to him. Yuya was not sure how to answer that. Meanwhile, Atsuki was still badgering him about Kei's photo. She told him that it was a very precious photo of Kei's dreamy smile, and she asked him if he was calm because he could always look at it in the future as her boyfriend. Annoyed, Yuya asked Shinji what was up with his girlfriend. But then again, he still wanted to see Kei's dreamy look. Then Kei's voice could be heard among the other voices. She told Yuya to tell her sooner, and that she was prepared to devote herself entirely to Yuya. She said that Yuya could enjoy her body that night if he wanted. Then he could see her dreamy look. At that moment, Yuya called out Kei's name, stopping her words. He told her that she should not say such things in school, especially in the middle of the day. Kei just smiled sweetly in response. He asked no one in particular why Kei was there. Kei just addressed Yuya as her beloved boyfriend. She asked if it was that bad that she just came to see him, because she felt lonely not being able to meet until noon. Yuya then got hysterical, telling her to calm down a bit. He told her that he was not her boyfriend because he did not respond to her confession, yet that he also added that he liked women with a sense of shame. Kei said that she understood. If he was going to go that far, then he would best be prepared. Then she showed the lunchbox that Yuya had prepared before and asked him to eat. Atsuki barged in on the conversation, saying that the lunch break would be over soon if he kept wasting time. She told him to be prepared because she was going to ask him a lot of questions. As Shinji and Atsuki were walking away, she said she would get revenge for always calling them lovebirds. After the lovebirds left, Kei asked what Yuya was doing and asked him to hurry to the cafeteria. She teasingly told Yuya not to make her say that there was no seat for him, because his seat would be on her lap if that were to happen. As he was about to leave, Nikaido called him, saying that she wanted to ask him one thing. Nikaido noticed that his blue bag and the pink lunchbox container that Kei was holding were matching. Yuya did not say anything to that, so Nikaido asked if she could take his silence as confirmation. Then Nikaido grabbed her own lunch bag and left. Yuya asked where she was going, and she said that she would join him in Kei, and that Yuya would not say no to that. Yuya said yes. Witnessing all that, Kei stared at Yuya, looking annoyed, and told him that he was a cheater that ate the cafeteria. Atsuki was wowed by the looks of Yuya's lunch, which was hamburger steak. She asked if Kei made that, and that it was like something from a restaurant. Kei asked her if she would like to try, and that Suki was not going to let that chance go. Then Nikaido also said that she wanted to eat that hamburger steak too. She told Yuya to let her try it. Yuya became tense, thinking that he could not read Nikaido's mind at all more than usual, that he thought that there was a pretty significant difference between Kei giving the food to Atsuki and him giving it to Nikaido. He wondered what her thoughts were on that. Because Yuya did not give any response, Nikaido asked him what he was worried about since she was not asking him to feed her or anything. She then grabbed his arm and told him to give her the chopsticks. Yuya thought that lending the chopsticks to her so that she could eat meant that they would have an indirect kiss. Yuya did not want to make a big deal out of it, but there was someone there who was more upset than him. Kei called Nikaido. She was about to feed her hamburger steak to her. She told her that it was the same hamburger steak, so she could have hers instead. She asked Nikaido not to take it from a hungry Yuya. Then Kei fed the hamburger steak to Nikaido. Nikaido was impressed by the taste of it. She told Atsuki that she was right, and that the hamburger steak was so good. Then Kei called Yuya's name. She said that he was very close with Nikaido, and asked him what kind of relationship the two of them had. Kei looked very jealous. Nikaido answered that question, saying that they were just classmates sitting next to each other. No more and no less. The situation got tense among the three of them. Yuya then confirmed that Nikaido and him were just classmates and told Kei not to worry. Nikaido tapped on the lunchbox, saying that she wanted to ask about that rather than other things. She said that the two lunchboxes were matching and had exactly the same contents, and she asked what it meant. Both Nikaido and Itsuki were waiting on Yuya and Kei's response. Nikaido anxiously, and Itsuki with anticipation written on their faces. Yuya seemed very nervous and did not know what to say. But then Kei smugly said that those were lunchboxes that Yuya made with love and care. Yuya was shocked and Nikaido looked slightly pressed. Yuya tried to calm Nikaido down, saying that although Kei said that he made them with loving care, he just stuffed them with yesterday's leftovers, so it was not that big of a deal. Nikaido cut him off by saying that Kei was the one who made the hamburger steak, and Yuya packed them that morning. She was curious as to what that meant. While Yuya was having a mental breakdown inside, Kei revealed that it was obvious since Yuya and her were living together after all. Both Nikaido and Itsuki were shocked by her revelation. Nikaido asked Yuya if he was going to explain what was going on. Then Yuya begrudgingly confirmed that. After school, Yuya, Shinji and the other soccer teammates had practice. And for some reason the soccer club's practice was all getting fired up. Yuya's teammates and even the senpai were also getting fired up. Shinji noticed what could be the cause of them getting fired up. Kei was watching the practice from the class balcony. Yuya asked her why she was watching, but Kei just waved her hand and cheered for Yuya. The other teammates were glaring at Yuya because of that. Yuya thought that if Kei cheered for him personally, she would end up fueling their fighting spirits, which would make them work him even harder. Shinji told Yuya that it was tough being loved by the prettiest girlfriend in Japan. Yuya just told him to shut up and that she was not his girlfriend. Shinji laughed it off, saying that Yuya said it was temporary, but they are already under the same roof, and for some reason he was still denying dating her. Shinji told Yuya that he was stubborn in a weird way and advised him that it would be best if he hurried up and were honest about his feelings. Earlier that day, after Kei's revelation, Yuya reluctantly explained the situation. The explanation meaning a made-up story for cases like that. The story was scripted by Sakuriko. The story started with Yuya's parents being deep in debt without his knowledge, and he returned home to find the house completely empty. While he was in a daze, a scary young man named Taka from a consumer finance company came to collect some money. Just when Yuya thought he was in real trouble, Sakuriko, a lawyer who was both his father's old friend and Kei's mother, came and saved him. However, he had to give up his house to pay off the debt. Yuya explained that his parents had disappeared, he lost his place to live, and he was at a loss as to what he could do about it. Sakuriko told him that he could stay with her until his parents came back, and mentioned that even his father cried and begged her to do so. And then there he was hearing Yuya's explanation. Kei did not react very well, saying why her mother got credit, even though she was the one that begged. She exclaimed that this story was not right and demanded a rewrite, and turns out her request had been rejected. Sakuriko said that if they were going to lie, moderately sprinkling in the truth made it more believable, and she was no doubt right about it. However, Kei seemed to be unhappy. Nikaido was still confused, so she asked if the two of them were living under the same roof, but they were not even dating. Yuya immediately denied that, and Nikaido kept her mouth shut after that. She was even quiet all afternoon, responding absent-mindedly when Yuya talked to her. Back at soccer practice, Yuya asked Shinji why he was there and what happened to the defense. Shinji told him not to worry, since those senpai were so determined to impress Kei that they could defend even without him and Yuya. Yuya said that they could come out on top in the Tokyo tournament if they were that motivated on a regular basis. Then Shinji said that if Yuya dated Kei and got her to be the manager of the soccer club, they could even win the national championship. But Yuya declined that idea, saying that he would never be able to relax. Anyway, Yuya asked Shinji to leave that topic aside and to stop the idle talk and go score some points instead. Shinji agreed, telling Yuya to show how cool he was there, and he told Yuya to lead the setup to him. They fist bumped each other, then continued practicing. Yuya added that it was not like he was trying to look good in front of Kei, because she had been cheering him on loudly for a while, or anything. Shinji just called Yuya at Sunday and said that he was cute when he got worked up. Yuya was about to say something, but then Kei's loud voice could be heard cheering for Yuya, that he was wondering why she was cheering only today. He thought that she would keep quiet and watch so as not to be suspected. But despite that thought, Yuya admitted that he did not feel bad about being cheered on by as Yuya and his soccer teammates continued the practice. Kaede also kept cheering Yuya on. Shinji teased Yuya, saying that he was so loved, but Yuya just told him to give it a rest. Kaede was doing plank at home, huffing and puffing and drenched in sweat. Yuya just got out of the shower when he witnessed that scene, staring in awe. The instructor on the video Kaede's watching signaled the end of the session of that day. Kaede sat and caught her breath, saying that today's quota had been completed. Yuya gave her a glass of water, telling her good job. Kaede thanked him and said that water after a workout just hit different. Then she just realized that Yuya was there, asking him how long he had been there. Yuya told her not to get surprised. He told her that she was amazing since he got done planks in his club too, so he knew how hard it was. Kaede smiled happily in return and said that it was her daily routine. Constant effort really was the key to being voted the prettiest female high school student in Japan, and her goddess-like proportions were not built in a day. Yuya would guess that she was doing a lot more than just planks, and he got curious. Seemingly caught Yuya's curiosity, Kaede mentioned that what else she was doing was a secret. Yuya told her that it would not hurt to tell him, and it was no big deal. But Kaede just walked away while saying that secrets made girls beautiful, so she could not even tell him. Then Kaede asked him to take a bath with her and to wash her back, but Yuya did not take the bait and just told her to hurry up and go. In return, she said that she was so mean. At school during lunch, Nikaido gave Yuya her homemade lunch, though she said that she just stuffed it with leftovers. Nikaido's fans snickered in the background. They invite Yuya since Nikaido made homemade lunch for him, and he also got homemade lunch from Kaede. Yuya just decided to ignore them all, but Nikaido just smiled and waved to her fans, getting them even more fired up, much to his chagrin. Nikaido said that it was okay, because it was like a kind of service. Yuya asked Nikaido what had gotten into her since it was unusual for her to make lunch. Nikaido just said that it was to annoy him. Then Kaede barged in holding their matching lunchboxes. She happily announced to Yuya that it was time to have lunch together, but then she noticed the lunchbox Nikaido had made and asked him what it was. Nikaido told her that it was exactly what she had imagined and that she was one step too late. Kaede got annoyed, saying that it was careless of her and thought that they should have come to school together that morning. But Yuya said that there was no way they could have gone together because Kaede slept, and even later than usual that day. Yuya noticed Kaede sneaking out of the bedroom after he went to bed, and she was doing God knows what in the kitchen. Yuya recalled that the day before Kaede told him that she would make lunch the next day, and she was so eager, but he felt guilty that she was almost late because of that, so he did not want her to try too hard. The next second, Kaede put her homemade lunchbox in front of Yuya's face, asking him and making sure that he would eat the lunch she had made. On the other hand, Nikaido said that she gave her homemade lunchbox to him first, so she thought that it was only fair that Yuya ate her lunch. Someone chuckled, telling Yuya that they heard it all. It was Atsuki. Yuya thought that the #1 troublemaker he did not want to see had now entered. Atsuki told Kaede and Nikaido that instead of having Yuya eat one or the other, she suggested having him judge which lunch was better. Both Kaede and Nikaido agreed to that fair solution. Nikaido mentioned that she was not interested in winning or losing, but if Yuya would eat the lunch she made them, by all means. All of them just did not bother to ask Yuya for an opinion. Meanwhile, Shinji was just staying on the sidelines and having his fun, said that he liked Yuya's attitude of trying to choose one. The battle began, and Kaede volunteered to go first. She showed her homemade lunchbox. Atsuki commented that the legendary duo of carriage and tamagoyaki were truly the top-rated side dishes people would want to see in their lunch. Atsuki told Kaede that she was going for the win. Yuya ate Kaede's lunch. She asked if it was delicious, and he said that it tasted good. It had an authentic Japanese taste and smell that he asked if she did something special. Kaede was glad that he noticed, saying that she tossed the bonito flakes into the meat before frying. Yuya wondered where she learned such a recipe, but she just said that it was a secret. Yuya finished the meal. Next was Nikaido's turn. Coincidentally, she made the same side dishes as Kaede. Yuya ate the food and said that it tasted good, but he had never had it before. Then Nikaido explained that she used miso for seasoning, saying that she was relieved that it suited his tastes. Yuya said that it had a light, elegant flavor and a subtle but fragrant sesame smell that hit the moment he bit into it. Nikaido added that it was because she mixed in sesame oil when she fried them. Yuya thought that it was hard to tell which was better, and seemed like Nikaido was too serious to annoy him. Then Yuya mentioned that the eggs were a little burnt, though that he tried the eggs, and he was shocked he dropped his chopsticks. Nikaido asked if it did not taste good. She made them with seasoning that Yuya said he liked before, but Yuya said that it tasted really good. Yuya thought that Nikaido remembered what he talked about a long time ago. Hatsuki said that the lunch break was coming to an end as he asked him if he had decided which was better, and he said yes. Yuya announced that Nikaido was the winner of the lunch showdown. That Kaede was really shocked hearing that. When Kaede and Yuya were home, she was sulking and asked him why Nikaido won, and also if Nikaido's chicken was that delicious. Seeing her like that, Yuya understood that she was in a bad mood, as it seemed she was not entirely convinced. Yuya preferred her fried chicken more, and was about to declare her the winner, but Yuya told her that the reason was the fried eggs. Yuya said that the fried eggs Kaede made were good too. They looked beautiful, and he could taste the broth, and they tasted like something from a traditional Japanese restaurant. Kaede asked him what Nikaido's fried egg tasted like. Yuya said that they were sweet. It was so sweet it was like she put too much sugar in them, and they were just like the eggs his mom used to make. Yuya mentioned that that was possible because Nikaido knew what he liked, since they had talked about whether or not fried eggs should be sweet. That was the reason why he chose Nikaido's lunch. He also said that he would have chosen Kaede's lunch if it were not for that. Kaede understood his reason. However, there was another reason why she was sulking, and it was more serious than the lunch. She asked him why he called her Kaede-san, and why Nikaido was just Nikaido. She said that she felt like there was a wall between them, because Yuya addressed Nikaido without a suffix, but he addressed her with one. Kaede would like to be called without a suffix. She asked him the reason behind him calling Nikaido that way in the first place, though Yuya thought that there was no reason. Still, he explained that Nikaido and him happened to be sitting next to each other, and their conversation took off because they both played sports, so they got along well. Nikaido had the spirit of a prince, so before he knew it, she started calling him in a friendly way. That was the reason why Yuya naturally started calling her Nikaido too. Then Kaede said that she also wanted to get closer to Yuya emotionally. Kaede revealed that she might not look like it, but she was pushing herself to call him Yuya, so she wanted him to call her by her first name too. The clock was ticking, but Yuya had not given any answer yet, and then eventually he conceded and called her by her first name, but he felt more embarrassed than he had thought that he was definitely blushing. He looked like a tomato, and his face was so hot it could catch fire. But he also noticed that Kaede's face was just as red as his Kaede said that she was glad and thanked him. Kaede really felt on top of the world now that finally she got Yuya to call her by her first name. That was a day to celebrate, she said. Then she remembered that she should do her daily workout and skin conditioning while Yuya was bathing. Right then, Yuya got out of the bathroom and thanked her for waiting. He told her that she could take a bath, that he noticed she had some kind of machine, and he asked what it was. Kaede just stared in awe at Yuya, admiring his hair, his skin, and his scent that she was practically drooling. Yuya asked her if she was okay because she looked dazed, that he touched her forehead to check if she had a fever, but she did not. Kaede blushed even more. She thought that it was unfair of him to surprise her like that. She admired his smile, which looked radiant. Kaede laughed it off and told him not to worry. She told him that the machine was a beauty appliance called a steamer. Yuya nodded as he seemed to be enjoying hearing such things. Yuya said that he was more happy now that he knew her prettiness was the result of daily efforts. He told her that it made him really happy knowing that he was the only one who knew about that. Meanwhile, Kaede was so glad that she had been working hard every day, and the fact that Yuya thought she was pretty made her happier than anything else. Then Kaede said that she had one request that made Yuya shy and looked away. Kaede grabbed his cheeks in her hands and asked him if he had already forgotten that he had promised to call her by her first name. Yuya said that he would try his best to do so. The next morning, Yuya was surprised to find Kaede already up and was having breakfast early in the morning. Yuya noticed that she seemed to have bags under her eyes, which worried him. But Yuya also thought that it was unlikely she stayed up because she could not wake up early. Kaede said that with trouble Yuya finally started calling her by her first name, so she wanted to go to school with him at all costs. Yuya said that that was definitely embarrassing and it could lead to misunderstanding. Then he made the mistake of not calling her by her first name. Kaede glared at him, then shook his body. She exclaimed that it was okay and asked him to just go to school together. And she reminded him again to call her by her first name. Yuya said sorry again and again, but Kaede was still shaking him. She said that until he said he would go to school with her, she would not stop shaking him. Eventually Yuya conceded, saying that he would go with her. He also said that he could not breathe. Finally Kaede released him from her hold happily, saying that that was her first time going to school with Yuya. And if that was the case, she had to get ready fast. She said that she needed to put in more effort than usual. Then Kaede did something unimaginable that shocked Yuya to the core. She asked him which underwear he thought was cuter while standing shirtless. Yuya covered his eyes quickly and asked her why she would ask him that. She said that because that would be the first day she got to go to school with him, then it would only be natural to wear lucky underwear. Yuya did not seem to think so. But Kaede was still adamant, asking him which one he thought was cuter. Yuya just chose the red one because he thought that the passionate color could be perfect for her enthusiasm that day. But then he said that the blue one was cute too. Kaede understood and said that she would go with the red one that day and go with the aqua one the next day. Then she left after saying she would get changed. Yuya had enough. He said that the day had just begun, and yet he was suddenly overcome by fatigue, that he wondered if he would be okay for the rest of the day at that rate. He was a nerve wreck. At school, many students glared at Yuya that he thought that all his fears came true. Shinji greeted him and asked how he felt to be the star of the day. Yuya explained it using just one word, hell. Shinji said that that was how it was since Yuya and Kaede came to school side by side like some kind of couple. Shinji advised Yuya that he should have prepared for that to happen. Yuya told Shinji to cut it out, and he explained that even though he said it was better not to do that, Kaede would not listen to her at all. Shinji was a bit confused by what he said. Nikaido came and said that she heard Yuya started dating Kaede. She asked him if that was true. Yuya wondered why it became such a story. Nikaido grabbed his shoulder and closely told him that he said Kaede confessed her feelings to him, and he had not responded yet, but since they came to school together, she asked him if that meant exactly what it meant. In the background, Nikaido's fans were jealous of their interaction. Nikaido continued that it was also reported that he called Kaede's name in a loving tone. Then she told him that he would feel better if he just confessed. Yuya revealed that he had not yet responded to her confession. Then the bell rang, and it was time for lunch break. Nikaido told him that she would ask for more details later. Yuya never thought he would see the day when he would want his morning class to end. Yuya and Nikaido talked privately. Nikaido told him to pick up where they left off earlier. Yuya told her that it was just like he said in the morning, that it was not like he was dating Kaede, and he had not responded to her confession yet. Also, he came to school with her that day, because she insisted. Nikaido asked him why he did not respond since he was so close to her that they called each other by their first names. And Nikaido asked Yuya if he had feelings for someone else. Yuya said that because he was afraid. Nikaido asked why he was afraid, that he just needed to respond to Kaede's feelings. Yuya revealed that he was afraid of losing his loved ones, just like how one day people who he thought would always be around suddenly disappeared. Yuya was afraid it might happen again. Even though he wanted to respond to Kaede's feelings, he could not just take a step forward. That was the reason why he had not responded to her confession yet. Nikaido understood. She said that it was heartbreaking when family members suddenly disappeared, and her heart ached just thinking about it. But then, she also said sorry to Yuya, since she could not really understand the pain or the loneliness he experienced. She was not him, nor was she an involved person like him. Nikaido asked him if Yuya was being stupid, since he should know that Kaede was not that kind of girl, and that she lived under the same roof with him because she wanted to be with him. She asked him if he really thought a girl like that would disappear from his sight. Inside, Yuya agreed to what Nikaido said, that he also thought that Kaede was different, and he was the one who knew that the best. Then, Yuya told Nikaido that she was right. Nikaido said that as long as Yuya got it, it was fine. She was surprised because he said more wimpy things that she could have imagined. Then, Nikaido slapped Yuya's back loudly. Yuya got a phone call from Shinji, but when he answered the call, it was Atsuki. She said that it was an emergency and told him to get to the infirmary quickly. Yuya was confused. Then, Atsuki informed that Kaede had collapsed right after P ended. Yuya was shocked by that news. The phone call ended. Nikaido said that she was done talking and told Yuya to hurry up and go to Kaede since she would surely be waiting for him to come to her. Yuya apologized profusely and thanked her. Yuya rushed to the infirmary. He was gasping for air when he got there, but he did not see the nurse there that he found Kaede and asked her if she was okay. He touched her forehead and felt that she was burning up. Kaede chuckled and said that his hand was cool and comfortable. Yuya thought that it would be hard for her to speak with such a fever. Kaede said that she would be okay, and she just had a little fever. Yuya asked her how high was her fever, and she informed that it was 38.7 degrees. Yuya said that he would not call that okay. It could be seasonal flu, and he suggested she leave early and see a doctor. Kaede sat up on the bed and told him not to worry. She said that it was not a cold or anything. She said that it was just overwork and lack of sleep, and reassured Yuya again that she was okay. Yuya grabbed her and said that she was not okay at all. Kaede hugged his arm to her side and told him to calm down. She asked him not to go anywhere and to stay with her. She told him that she wanted him to look at only her. Yuya said that he would do his best, that he told her not to worry, and it was going to be okay. He was not going anywhere. Kaede hugged his body and asked again if he would never leave her side, that he told her that he would not, and said that she should rather rely on him more, and that she could lean on him if she wanted. Kaede made sure she heard it right, and she said that she might not look like it, but she always demanded attention. Yuya did not mind that, and told her to lean on him a lot, that he stroked her head and hugged her. The door opened and the nurse walked in, saying thank you to Kaede for waiting, and that she bought some cold sheets to put on Kaede's forehead. She had not realized the scene unfolding in front of her yet. Yuya was shocked, but Kaede was unbothered and kept hugging Yuya. The nurse, whose name was Chika-sensei, said that she remembered Yuya from the first class, Class 4. She asked what he was doing there. Chika-sensei was a new female nurse. She was a grown woman with striking long hair. But for some reason, Yuya thought that she had a mascot-like cuteness, and he had heard that she was popular with both men and women. Yuya stuttered at first, but then he said that he was a little worried about Kaede, so he thought he would look in on her. Kaede agreed at Chika-sensei. Then she told him that Yuya was her boyfriend, and also something about her future, but she did not finish her words. Chika-sensei then said that Yuya was the one whom Kaede had told her. She told Yuya that he would be worried if he heard that his precious girlfriend had collapsed. Chika-sensei also revealed that Kaede kept mentioning his name in her slumber. She also said to him that he must love Kaede so much that he immediately rushed to see her when his friend contacted him. Chika-sensei seemed to be jealous of that, as she said she wanted such a devoted boyfriend too. Yuya then asked Chika-sensei how Kaede was after all of that. He asked her if she had a cold, and if she should go to the hospital. Chika-sensei came to her senses and professionally said that it was just fever from overwork, and that she was sure Kaede would feel better if she kept quiet in bed for the day. Yuya was relieved to hear that. Then Chika-sensei told him to return to his class as soon as possible since the bell just rang. Yuya thought that he'd better hurry up, but to do so, he would have to pull off spoiled Kaede, who had turned into a burr. He thought that Kaede exclaimed that she would not let Yuya go and told him to just rest in the infirmary too. Chika-sensei joked by saying he could stay and told them to enjoy their time, but she got serious in the next second, exclaiming that the infirmary was not a place to make out. She sternly told Kaede to lie down and sleep, and she told Yuya to hurry back to class and start learning. Yuya hurriedly left the infirmary, not wanting to upset Chika-sensei more. He bid Kaede goodbye and told her to have a good rest, as well as Chika-sensei. Kaede called out Yuya's name, not wanting him to leave. Yuya thought to himself that he would become a man who could support Kaede, so he had to work hard too. After school, Yuya joined the soccer club practice. He could not miss club activities because of Kaede's condition, so he decided to go home as soon as practice was over, that he had to hurry home and take care of Kaede. As he was about to leave the locker room, Kaede grabbed his arm, asking him if he was not going to practice overtime. Yuya asked her why she was there, and if she was alright. That Kaede confirmed that she was okay. She had to miss all her afternoon classes, but thanks to that she felt much better. Yuya told her that it did not change the fact that she was still recovering, and that she should have rested at home instead of waiting for him. Kaede said that was because she wanted to go home with him no matter what. She asked him if that was a bad thing. Yuya said that it was not, and he told her that she could have just waited in the classroom, that he would have picked her up if she had sent a message. Then Yuya held Kaede's hand. He said that her hand is getting cold, and that it was punishment for forcing herself to wait outside in the cold for him. The two of them then walked home. Yuya gave her his mittens to use. He told her they should hurry home and eat something warm, that he also said to stop by the supermarket to buy some vegetables and meat and have some hot pot. The next day they would eat the rest and finish with rice gruel. Kaede stopped Yuya's ranting, saying that she was glad he lent her his mittens, but then his hands would be cold. Yuya told her not to worry. He would keep his hands in his pockets. Then Kaede had an idea. She put on one of the mittens on her right hand, then put her left hand inside her pocket. Yuya also had one of the mittens. Then, Kaede grabbed Yuya's hand and put their holding hand inside her pocket. That Kaede said that his hands would not be cold if they did that, and she thought that it was good, because even if they were holding hands, it was not visible from the outside. Yuya thought it was not visible from the outside, but it was obvious that they were holding hands, and if anything, it was even more intimate, he thought. Kaede said that he was the one who held her hand for a long time a moment ago, so it was unconvincing even if he panicked then. Yuya accepted that, but for him that was definitely a little embarrassing. Kaede then asked if it was because Yuya hated to walk home holding hands with her. In his mind, Yuya admitted that it was not like he hated it. Holding hands like that with fingers intertwined was something only lovers would do, and if the partner was Kaede, anyone should weep for joy. Then, Kaede told him to pick up the pace because the supermarket would close if they did not hurry. In the cold weather, Yuya and Kaede made their way home, feeling the warmth of each other's hands. The month of February came. It felt quite sudden, and the majority of high school students have only one thing in mind: Valentine's Day. People said that it was a conspiracy by the sweets makers, that it was a day when men could not receive any sea blood, and all sorts of other things. It was one of the biggest events of the year. Kaede and Yuya were sitting in front of each other, and he asked her what was wrong. Feeling annoyed, Kaede said that she knew Yuya had fans as there were some schoolgirls glaring at her. Yuya just said that it was surely just her imagination. If anything, He was the kind of guy who did not stand out. Kaede told him that things like that were exactly the reason, and she said he should understand how charming he was. Kaede told him that he was really great just the way he was. His dedication to things, his attitude of constant hard work, and that casual kindness that he occasionally showed. He was more than simply having a good-looking face. Kaede told him that he had a wonderful personality. She also told him to realize that there were many women who find attractive that Kaede noticed that Nikaido was looking at Yuya so closely. So Yuya asked Nikaido if she said something. Nikaido told Yuya that being a popular guy was hard, that Kaede seemed to be feeling something by what Nikaido just said. The situation felt a bit tense. Then, Atsuki asked both her and Nikaido if they had already decided what to do for Valentine's Day next week. Kaede excitedly said that she was going to make a chocolate cake that weekend at Yuya's request. Atsuki praised her, saying that she was amazing. Kaede said that Yuya said he wanted to eat one, so she just wanted to grant his wish. But that was also her first time, so she was worried about falling slash. Yuya gave Atsuki a thumbs up for softening the situation. Then Atsuki asked Nikaido if she would make something, but she said that she had not really thought about it. Yuya asked Nikaido, who was slurping her drink, if she was aware that the contents were already empty, and that she was sucking the air. Atsuki then suggested that they made chocolate together at Kaede's place that weekend. They could all make chocolate in one go and give it to friends and so on. Hearing that, Yuya's mind raced. If they did that, the fact that he lived with Kaede might be revealed. He glanced at Kaede, telepathically asking her if she knew what he was thinking. Kaede smiled at him, seemingly so. But Kaede cheered that making chocolate sounds amazing, and that they should do it together. Yuya was shocked. Instead of declining the offer, Kaede just agreed, giving him the thumbs up with a smug face. Shinji asked if he could also come to Kaede's place, and if they would be having dinner together that day. Kaede cheerfully said yes, saying that they would make chocolate while Yuya and Shinji were away at club activities, and she would be waiting for Yuya with dinner ready. Shinji whispered to Yuya how exciting it was, and that he wanted to eat Kaede's hamburger steak. Yuya said nothing. He just thought that he was doomed since they were going to find out that Kaede and him lived together. Atsuki asked Nikaido if she wanted to join and have a little girls-only gathering before the boys came, and she asked Kaede if she was okay with that too. Kaede a little begrudgingly agreed. But Nikaido said that she was glad to be invited, but she would pass since she had commitments that weekend. Nikaido walked away and Yuya asked her if she was going back to the room, and she said yes. She mentioned that there was a quiz in English class after lunch, so she thought she should do some review just in case. That was news to Yuya. As Nikaido was walking away, Kaede stared at her leaving form. She seemed to be thinking about something. Time flew, and it was the weekend at last. At their Kaede's place, Yuya was getting ready as she said that he had soccer club practice in the morning, so he left home early. Kaede came and gave him his lunch. Yuya told her that she went out of the way to make it for him that day as well. Kaede just said that she just stuffed it with yesterday's leftovers. But still, Yuya was happy and thanked Kaede. She told him to do his best in club activities. Yuya said that he was sure he could do his best with the lunch that day. Kaede told him that she wanted him to come home with Shinji instead of practicing overtime, at least for that day. She also said that she wanted him to eat them, aka her lunch, but also her feelings. She was tapping Yuya's chest when she said that. Then she said that she actually wanted to ask him to kiss her goodbye, but she would be patient for now, and that she would wait for that day to come. Yuya was aware that she was doing it on purpose to embarrass him by making his heart beat. He was also aware that Kaede was trying a little too hard as he noticed that she was blushing a little. It was proof that she was embarrassed even though she said that she wanted the goodbye kiss herself. Yuya took that chance to respond with his own attack. He would not get beaten one-sidedly. That he touched her forehead and said his goodbye, but then kissed her forehead and quickly ran away saying that he would see her later. He went out the door in a flash. Kaede was stunned and speechless. Then she finally reacted, announcing to the world that Yuya had kissed her. After practice, Shinji and Yuya walked together to Kaede's place. As they arrived outside the building, Shinji was amazed, saying that it was Yuya and Kaede's love nest. Yuya denied that. Then he told Shinji, who was still staring at the building dumbfoundedly, to stop standing around and to go inside. Yuya said that Kaede kept sending messages asking if they were coming. Yuya opened the door and went inside, announcing that he had arrived. Kaede welcomed him, calling his darling in the process, and asking if he would like a bath, dinner, or her. Shinji, who was standing behind Yuya, snorted. Then Yuya announced that he would have Kaede as she offered him, that he said that he would give her what she wanted, and that he was going to eat her. Kaede started panicking even though she was the one who asked for it, trying to stop Yuya, because Shinji was there. But Yuya just told her to be quiet, and then he moved to kiss her again. Atsuki peeked from another room, and she was surprised by the scene unfolding before her eyes. Kaede just realized that she was there too. Then she moved to hug Yuya instead. Seeing Atsuki's questioning eyes and shocked face, Kaede said that Yuya and her were not kissing or anything. Then she explained that Yuya tried to give her a kiss, but they had not done it yet. She was stuttering as she said so. Yuya, who was still hugging her body to him, said that Kaede was not very convincing in this situation. Atsuki then asked Shinji, whose eyes were closed, whether Kaede and Yuya were kissing and asked him what had happened. Shinji said that it would be more interesting to talk about it over dinner, as he also wanted to know why Yuya made such a bold move. That I asked Atsuki, and him walked towards the living room. Shinji looked back and told Yuya that he would wait in the living room, and told him to come after talking to Kaede. He also said that he knew he wanted to hug the girl he liked forever, but he told him not to go overboard. That annoyed Yuya a little bit. Still hugging each other, Yuya asked Kaede to join Shinji and Atsuki quickly and ask her if dinner was ready. But Kaede was just silent and kept hugging him, saying that she did not want to. When Yuya asked her why, she said that it was his fault because he made her heart beat so hard. Even though she wanted to make his heart beat, he was really unfair. She hugged him tighter as she said so. Yuya sighed, then he let go of his hold, that he said that he got carried away on an impulse, and that he wanted Kaede to tell him what to do to cheer her up. Even though Yuya had removed his arms, Kaede still did not let him go. Then she said that she wanted a kiss, and that she would forgive him if he kissed her. Yuya grew silent, thinking that this was going to be his first kiss, and it was not right to do it like that as he had not confessed to her yet. Then, Kaede laughed and said that she was kidding. She said that they could kiss the next time, and instead she asked him to hold her tight and firmly with all his might to express his love, and that he would not give her to anyone. Yuya did just that, hugging her and holding her tight against him. Yuya thought that they were completely like lovers at that moment. He also felt that hugging her before saying he liked her was out of order. But then again, they were already living together as well. That it hugged for a long time, and Kaede said that it was about time and that she was embarrassed. But Yuya kept his hold and said he wanted just a little longer. Without them knowing, Shinji and Hatsuki were witnessing that scene as they peeked at them from the living room. Hatsuki asked Shinji what on earth they were showing them, and Shinji said that it was a masterpiece on the subject of two people who love each other embracing. Then they both took out their phones and captured the moment between Kaede and Yuya. Kaede and Yuya heard their ruckus and found them taking pictures. Hatsuki showed the picture to Kaede and asked her if she thought it was a nice shot. Kaede happily said that it was perfect and asked Hatsuki to send her the photo later. She would make it as her wallpaper. Hatsuki asked Yuya if he wanted the photo too, but he just said to delete it right away, feeling embarrassed. She asked why, because Kaede and him looked very happy at that time. He just told her to cut it out instead. Yuya felt embarrassed because people witnessed him doing corny things. Meanwhile, Kaede was busy telling Hatsuki what Yuya told her earlier. Yuya was so ashamed he wanted to die. Shinji interrupted Yuya's thought by offering him to eat. He told him to just eat the meat, as they rarely got to eat something like that. Apparently, they were having marbled wagyu for dinner. Yuya told Shinji that he was glad he was here. Shinji said that he was exaggerating, and he told Yuya that there was nothing weird about Yuya being so happy when he hugged a girl he liked. Yuya was also aware of that, but there was one fact he could not ignore planted deep in his heart. Yuya revealed that he was the one who wanted to scream not to let him go. Shinji told him that what Yuya did from there on out was up to him, so Shinji would not say anything. But Shinji thought that Kaede was alright, that he said that he got the sense of what Yuya was thinking. After all, they were each other's pal. Shinji also told Yuya that he should be brave and try to jump in. Then they continued to eat their dinner. Yuya told Kaede to add meat and veggies, and he told Atsuki that she was allowed to share the photo, but only to Kaede. As he was eating, Yuya thought that he was eating good food to restore his energy and prepare for battle, a battle to be a little more honest to himself. Seeing Yuya eating, Kaede chuckled. She said that it was okay to eat a lot, but an early Valentine's Day surprise awaited them after that, so she suggested that he be moderate in eating his dinner. Kaede winked at him and said that she made it with a lot of love for him, telling him to look forward to it. After finishing dinner, Yuya and Shinji washed the dishes together. Yuya said that the sukiyaki was good, and he praised Kaede, who was really good at cooking. He seriously thought that she could serve it in a restaurant, but it might come with a pot. Shinji was confused. Then Yuya explained that the first time Kaede made him dinner, it was a stewed hamburger steak, and she served it in a pot. He said that she unexpectedly banged the pot hard, and said that it was a good idea because they would have less dishes to wash. Shinji laughed at that he said that Kaede was amazing for doing that, and that was exactly right and original. Yuya continued that Kaede looked confused, so he gradually started to think that he was the wrong one, and it was hard. Meanwhile, Kaede and Atsuki were listening in on their conversation, that Kaede exclaimed, telling Yuya not to reveal embarrassing things without permission, and she told Atsuki to stop laughing too much. Atsuki asked Yuya if he had any photos from that time Kaede treated him to her cooking the first time. Surprisingly, Yuya said that he did take photos properly. Then he showed the photos. They were nice shots, but the pot of food Kaede was holding was blurry. Shinji said that he got it. All of the photos focused on Kaede, and the food was completely secondary. He told Yuya to stop bragging so naturally. Feeling so embarrassed, she began to cry, but not really crying to Atsuki. Atsuki told her that it was okay. It was tough when her boyfriend was an ignorant bragger. Yuya denied, saying that he was not bragging, that he just wanted Shinji and Atsuki to know how cute Kaede was at home. But Shinji advised him that unconscious bragging was unbearable. Then Kaede announced that it was time for the main event of the day. She said that it was Yuya's turn to get the heart thumping, and told him to accept her Valentine's Day chocolate filled with love. Yuya felt that his heart was already pounding so hard that it was beating out of his chest. He wondered why, as that was not the first time a girl had given him Valentine's Day chocolate, that he glanced at Shinji asking why he was not nervous. Shinji said that he was not nervous at all, and in fact he could not wait. He was curious to see what kind of chocolate his girlfriend would give him, and he was bursting with excitement. Yuya thought that that was the serenity of the man who was called the love bird of the school. Then Atsuki excitedly asked who wanted a special handmade Valentine's Day chocolate from a pretty girl. She was so hyper. Shinji exclaimed that he wanted the handmade chocolate with the same excitement as his girlfriend. Yuya stayed quiet, and he looked at Kaede. She was sulking. Yuya noticed that. Atsuki asked Yuya if he did not want to eat Kaede's Valentine's Day chocolate. Turns out Kaede was sulking because she thought he would not eat it. But then Yuya screamed that he wanted to eat it. Then the girls gave the boys their handmade chocolate. Shinji opened the chocolate from Atsuki, and he was in awe. She said that it was Gatoa chocolate that Shinji liked. She made it a little bitter, so he could eat it even if he did not like sweets. She told him to dig in, but he said he would pass because he would take his time and enjoy it later. That he also said that they could not flirt in front of Yuya and Kaede. Yuya asked what Shinji and Atsuki were trying to do in their house, or if they would feed each other or something. Yuya told him to calm down and to look at Kaede, who was waiting for him. She looked nervous, and she gave Yuya her handmade chocolate. She was fidgeting. She said that she had worked hard for it, and that she wanted him to eat it. She gave him a chocolate cake with 3 layers of sponge, mousse, and cream. She put orange cream accents in between, and coated the top with caramel. Yuya thanked her, and then tried the cake, and Kaede nervously asked if it suited his taste. Inside his head, Yuya thought that it was so authentic that it would not be inferior even if it ended up on the shelves of a luxury Western confectionery store. Yuya told Kaede that the cake was really good. He had never tasted such a delicious chocolate cake that he wholeheartedly thanked her again. Atsuki said that Yuya was so bad at reviewing food and ordered him to say more. Yuya said he was not sure how to say it out of course. It tasted great, and he was very happy that she made him such a good cake. After all, making sweets by hand was hard. He never thought she would make something so good for him, especially not from scratch despite that. Yuya said that it made him so happy to think that she cared about him so much. But inside, Yuya also felt sorry at the same time. He was beating himself to take one step forward. Then he told Kaede that he was grateful. He thanked her for making him such a good cake, and that he could feel her emotions so well. He then said that he wished their relationship would last forever. Kaede was touched, and she also wished the same. Kaede made a cake for Yuya to celebrate Valentine's Day, but Kaede wanted to eat that. Kaede wanted to ask if she could eat the cake. Then she realized that it was already 10 p.m. Hearing that, Yuya just replied casually. He thought that Kaede didn't need to ask his permission. Yuya then checked the box. He knew that there were a lot of cakes. He thought that it would be better if they ate together so that he wouldn't get fat. Absolutely, this made Kaede quite angry. Meanwhile, when Kaede got angry, it made Yuya even more anxious. He just thought that he almost heard a woman gnashing her teeth in a moment of anger. Even so, Yuya did not show his anxiety for Kaede bluntly. Yuya was lost in his own thoughts. He began to think wildly about Kaede, that he even fantasized about the underwear Kaede was wearing. Yuya realized that he was out of focus, so he told Kaede to be quiet. Then Yuya immediately walked away from Kaede in a panic. With her innocent face, Kaede felt very confused by Yuya's behavior and suddenly ran over. Moments later, Yuya came in with a fork and cake for Kaede. Without further ado, Yuya immediately offered Kaede a piece of sweet cake made by Kaede. All of a sudden, Kaede opened her mouth and ate the cake from Yuya's mouth full. Kaede was very happy with Yuya's treatment. She was so obviously blushing that her heart was racing. Then Kaede quickly took the cake and fed Yuya with the same fork. Yuya was very surprised by the cake that had just entered his mouth. He felt that the flavor of the cake was sweeter than what he ate before. His face immediately turned red as he blushed. Kaede saw his shocked reaction. She instantly understood, but he felt the difference in the flavor of the cake. She then explained that she and Yuya had kissed accidentally through the fork. But if Yuya only felt happy, it wasn't fair because Yuya should have blushed, Kaede explained. She felt it was unfair because she was the only one who got her heart beating easily, while Yuya didn't. But Yuya quickly said that it wasn't about the unfairness of feelings, because the truth was that Yuya felt so happy to be living with the woman he admired. But in fact, Yuya didn't realize that what he said just now shouldn't have been said. At once he said in his heart that he was stupid because he had said something important. Once again, Kaede was surprised by the truth. All at once there was silence. Kaede happily hugged Yuya from behind. But Yuya tried to run away because he was still embarrassed and reluctant to admit his feelings. Before he left, Kaede asked Yuya to leave her alone. Hearing that, Yuya felt that he didn't want to leave Kaede alone, that he said he would live for a little longer. Kaede was instantly so happy. Before they slept, Kaede asked permission to sleep closer to Yuya. She happily said that she was very happy on that day because Yuya prized the cake Kaede made and fed it to her. Even today, the two of them were even able to have an indirect kiss. Yuya was very happy to hear that. Moreover, Kaede hugged Yuya. Yuya finally couldn't bear to hear the baby-like voice of the person he loved, Kaede. Finally, Yuya turned around to face Kaede and hugged her. The next day, on Valentine's Day at school, Yuya and Nikaido talked about chocolate. Nikaido then gave the chocolate to Yuya in case Yuya was disappointed with the taste of Hidetsuba's homemade chocolate. Even so, Nikaido said it was a wasted effort. Although Nikaido said that, Yuya still appreciated her gift. Then Nikaido realized that it was time for Kaede and Itsuki to come to Yuya's class before class started. She immediately warned Yuya to keep the chocolate so that Kaede wouldn't find out. After that, Nikaido got out of the class. When Nikaido came out, Shinji came to greet Yuya. Shinji knew that Nikaido looked weird. Shinji assumed that Yuya did something to Nikaido. But Yuya didn't admit anything because he thought Nikaido only gave chocolates. From outside, the students were discussing the extracurricular camp that would have skiing and stargazing. Shinji then mentioned that he was looking forward to extracurricular camp next week. But it turned out that the students who discussed extracurricular camp were Itsuki and Kaede. Kaede then said she was looking forward to stargazing with Yuya. Likewise, Yuya, with a happy smile, replied that he was also excited to spend time with Kaede. When they talked like that, the whole girl students looked at them with envy for some reason. But Yuya and Nikaido didn't care about that. But in the middle of their conversation, Yuya remembered that he had kept the chocolate from Nikaido. He felt guilty and was afraid that this would become a problem between him and Kaede. Suddenly, Nikaido came to see Yuya again. This time she brought more chocolates for Yuya. Kaede, who saw that, was confused as well as Yuya. Nikaido quickly said that it was chocolate from her fans. Yuya absolutely didn't imagine how many fans of Nikaido. But they all knew that Nikaido has a prince aura, even though Nikaido was a girl. Yuya actually wanted to have a prince aura like her. Nikaido noticed that there was Kaede. Then she clearly told Kaede that Yuya and Nikaido were just friends. She added that it was not the relationship that Kaede thought. Nikaido just wanted Kaede and Yuya not to misunderstand because of it. Of course, Nikaido's attitude and behavior made Kaede very upset. She looked angrily at Nikaido. But Kaede couldn't express her jealousy and anger at that time. But unfortunately, bell rang, which meant that class was about to start. So Kaede and Akio had to go to their class. Kaede, who still wanted to talk to Yuya, was annoyed because Nikaido interrupted their time together. But Akio immediately pulled Kade's hand so that Kaede didn't stay too long. Yuya felt bad for Kaede, but he still tried to look okay so that Kaede would feel at ease. After she left Yuya's class, Nikaido looked at Yuya with cold and scornful eyes. But Yuya clearly realized that it was his fault because he didn't make things clear. Lunchtime came. The students then got out of class. Yuya asked if Nikaido went to the cafeteria. But Nikaido didn't seem okay and decided not to go to the cafeteria with her friends. Nikaido went to the field and thought about things. She realized that she had liked Yuya all along. But Nikaido knew that Yuya liked Kaede because of her princess aura, while Nikaido was not as feminine as Kaede. A few minutes later, Yuya came to Nikaido that he said that he couldn't ignore his friend who had a hard time. This made Nikaido upset. After a while, Nikaido tried to be brave to confess her feelings even though it was too late. When Yuya heard that, he told bravely that he had someone in his mind. Absolutely, they really liked Kaede. Nikaido was so sad, but she didn't want to ruin her friendship with Yuya. Nikaido tried to break the ice with casual conversation. Nikaido then made a suggestion for Yuya to explain his feelings for Kaede during the extracurricular camp. She explicitly told him to do that at the Stargazing session. Yuya then thanked Nikaido for her suggestion. He also appreciated Nikaido's feelings for him. On his way home from school, Yuya saw Kaede who walked in front of him, that he wanted to hug Kaede from behind silently. However, Kaede suddenly looked back and greeted Yuya. Yuya became embarrassed because he failed to hug Kaede. Yuya wondered why Kaede knew that Yuya was behind her. Kaede replied that it was because of her strong intuition. Kaede asked what Yuya meant by trying to surprise her. But Yuya innocently said that he wanted to hug Kaede from behind without Kade's knowing. Hearing that, Kaede didn't expect that Yuya would want to hug her. So Kaede happily said that she would pretend not to know and he could hug her from behind. With a pleading face, Kaede asked Yuya to hug her right there and there. Later, Kaede remembered about Nikaido who gave chocolates to Yuya. But Kaede tried to dismiss her suspicions of Yuya because Nikaido made it clear that they were just friends. Kaede was lost in her own thoughts. But she came to her senses when Yuya asked her to go home because he was hungry. Yuya immediately pulled Kade's hand. Suddenly, Kaede asked how exactly Yuya and Nikaido's relationship was. But Yuya did not say anything because he wouldn't want to accidentally reveal his plan to confess his feelings to Kaede during the extracurricular camp. Once home, Yuya immediately heated up the chocolate from Nikaido, that he thought to himself that there was no way Nikaido could have made such perfect chocolate, just because the two of them were sitting next to each other in class. But this time, Yuya finally found out why Nikaido gave him the chocolate. The morning of the day of the extracurricular camp finally arrived. Yuya and Kaede walked together. Kaede didn't want to let go of Yuya's hand. Kaede was sad to be separated on such a rare bus trip. She also didn't like it because they would be separated for more than 3 hours. But Yuya tried to make Kaede calm. He explained 3 hours was nothing compared with their difference at school, because they were regularly in different classes and they joined different clubs. But Kaede still felt sad because she already thought of many things she could do with Yuya during the bus ride. Kaede could enjoy the view and put her head on Yuya's shoulder. Then Yuya said if he wanted to stay with Kaede in the same bus. Hearing that, Kaede was so embarrassed. But suddenly Yuya remembered about several days ago. He really knew that he got a good sleep when Kaede and Yuya slept while cuddled that night. Actually, Yuya really wanted to go with Kaede, but he couldn't. Before they entered their bus, Kaede warned Yuya to be careful with their words so their friends could not be misunderstood. Kaede also told her plans with Akaho. They decided to boast about the good things about each other's boyfriends. Kaede wanted to let Akaho know that her boyfriend was a caring person and kind, even if he was a little awkward and not always straightforward. Hearing that Yuya seemed to blush, that he quietly said how compliments came so easily. Moments after they reached school, the two of them had to go their separate ways. Yuya reassured himself that he was not a child who traveled alone, that he also said that actually he would miss Kaede. But suddenly Nikaido came to Yuya. She heard what Yuya said, so she just told him not to cry just because he was separated from Kaede for a while. But before Yuya could reply to Nikaido's words, Nikaido had to leave quickly because her fans invited her to talk. Yuya then entered the bus. Shinji then came over to Yuya and sat next to him, that he tried to start a conversation. With a slightly macking face, Shinji said that on the way they could talk about what they liked about each other's girlfriends. Shinji even offered another topic if Yuya wanted to hear Shinji tell about his girlfriend on the bus later. Yuya flatly gave up any topic that Shinji would choose. That way Yuya could respond casually to Shinji's story with AI. That's cute or something like that. Because Yuya figured out that listening to Shinji was like torture. On the way, the bus stopped at the service area. Some students went to the restroom. Kaede took the opportunity to meet Yuya. They asked each other about their trip. Kaede seemed happy because she talked with Akio and listened to music. But it wasn't the case with Yuya, who felt tired listening to Shinji during the trip. After that, they returned to their buses and continued their journey. They finally arrived at their destination. After that, the students listened to explanation of the day's schedule at a place called the Manor House. Then they moved to the cottage where the students would be staying and unpacked. After the event at the Manor House was over, Yuya headed to the cottage with Higer. They were both chosen to make shortbread. Before they started cooking, they both watched a video tutorial on making shortbread that was available only in English. It wasn't long before one of their friends came over that he also knew that Yuya and Higer would be cooking. On the other hand, Nikaido thought about the two lovers, Akio and Shinji, as well as Yuya and Kaede. Nikaido imagined Akio and Kaede wore aprons, and their boyfriend saw that. But Nikaido realized that her imagination was going too far. She quickly turned her thoughts away. It turned out that it was not only Nikaido who was thinking about Kaede, because it was also Higer and his friend Did I. In fact, they both asked Yuya directly. Yuya firmly said that he often saw Kaede wearing an apron. They were both very jealous of Yuya. Higer sadly and solemnly said that he would keep asking about Kaede to Yuya. Soon Shinji came over to Higer and Yuya. Shinji said that he would tell Higer many things about Kaede. But of course that made Yuya jealous. So Yuya immediately scolded Shinji not to tell anything about Kaede. The two of them had a small argument like two best friends usually do. After that little argument, Yuya and Shinji behaved like it was nothing. They both left their two friends to go to the manor. After he changed his clothes, Yuya arrived at the manor house first. But from a distance it seemed that Kaede already noticed Yuya. She called out to her boyfriend. She asked if the outfit suited her. Yuya simply said that it was cute, and Kaede looked more mature. Kaede was a little surprised to hear the word mature. Instead of being offended, she teased Yuya. Kaede softly whispered in Yuya's ear and explained that she wore this outfit because she knew that Yuya seemed to want an older girlfriend. Yuya felt a little guilty for making Kaede jealous with his thoughts. However, beyond the cool Yuya, he felt butterflies in his stomach when he saw Kaede that way. Yuya felt a little guilty for making Kaede jealous with his thoughts. But behind the cool Yuya, he felt butterflies in his stomach when he saw Kaede. Kaede really wanted to kiss Yuya at that very moment. Unluckily, Akio and Shinji suddenly arrived. Akio immediately kept Kaede away from Yuya. Likewise, Shinji pulled Yuya away from Kaede out of course. The sudden appearance of Akio and Shinji made Yuya and Kaede shocked. Shinji apologized for interrupting Yuya and Kaede's fun. Even Akio pointedly warned Kaede to be aware of her behavior. However, Yuya and Kaede felt a little annoyed with their best friend. When they got to the kitchen, Akio and Kaede didn't forget to wear aprons. Meanwhile, Yuya and Shinji were finally in the kitchen. They both immediately looked at their girlfriends. Yuya was stunned to see Kaede, who looked different from usual. Kaede innocently asked about how she looked. Yuya instantly found it difficult to speak. He just fell silent and said, "I give up." In the sense that he couldn't stand Kaede's beauty. Of course, Yuya's actions made Kaede happy. Another case was Shinji, who openly expressed his pleasure when looking at Akio. Soon Yuya had finished cooking. At that time, the students also saw Yuya, who looked more handsome while cooking. There were some female students who invite Kaede because she could get Yuya. There were also male students who invite Yuya because he could make other students fall in love instantly because he was good at cooking. After he was busy cooking, Yuya returned to the cottage. He realized that he was alone at that time. While his friends were outside, he felt tired and missed Kaede. But his tiredness passed because Yuya remembered that tomorrow was a stargazing session. Yuya was nervous about the plan he had made. He really wanted to tell Kaede that he loved her. He also remembered Shinji's words, "Why are you nervous about a fight that you're sure to win?" But it actually made Yuya even more nervous. Not long after, when Yuya was afraid of not being able to sleep, Kaede suddenly came. Kaede told that she also couldn't sleep well without Yuya. Kaede hugged Yuya from behind. They both felt a sense of calmness as they embraced. Then Kaede remembered that the stargazing session would be tomorrow night. She asked if Yuya had prepared a surprise for her. She was very impatient to get the surprise. Yuya firmly said that he could wait for the surprise tomorrow. Kaede was very happy to hear that. She was no longer sad to sleep without Yuya. With a cheerful face, Kaede kissed Yuya's cheek. But Yuya could only be silent and surprised. Then it was finally time for the students to go skiing. Yuya and Kaede both wore the same ski equipment. Their friends noticed, and they whispered about Yuya and Kaede. Kaede couldn't wait to ski because she was used to skiing, while Yuya seemed to be skiing for the first time. Yuya looked nervous and scared. But Kaede encouraged Yuya by saying, "Just think that the snow is your best friend." With that, Yuya tried to overcome his fear. Then Kaede skied first to show Yuya that skiing was easy. It was Yuya's turn that he carefully began to move his feet. After a while, he realized that skiing was fun and not scary. Yuya then increased his speed. But Kaede worried that Yuya would fall if he went too fast. Shortly after that, Yuya crashed into Kaede. This made Kaede fall in Yuya's arms. Kaede was very worried if Yuya was injured. But Yuya convinced Kaede not to worry. He promised not to do that again. Without realizing it, they hugged a little longer because Kaede didn't want to let go of Yuya. Yuya promised to hug Kaede as much as he could when she returned from the extracurricular camp. Kaede was overjoyed. She reminded him to fulfill his promise. Night came. The students were all at the cottage. They enjoyed skiing this morning. But Higer and the others sat discussing Yuya and Kade's romance. When Yuya came over to them, he got a lot of teasing and jealousy from his friends. Higer was clear that Yuya and Kaede had created a sweet atmosphere. Yuya didn't think so because he realized that it was only Kaede who was flirting with him while he didn't. Suddenly, Shinji replied that he clearly saw Yuya and Kaede flirting in front of their friends. Also, Yuya ignored Shinji and Akio when they greeted him at the chairlift. Yuya was annoyed by his friends' bullying. He tried to ignore them, but he couldn't. Finally, Yuya, with a gloomy face, decided to leave the cottage to get some fresh air. While outside, Yuya was amazed to see such a beautiful sky. He couldn't wait to go stargazing with Kaede. Just as Yuya thought about his plan to surprise Kaede, Kaede suddenly came over. Kaede then asked about what happened at the men's cottage. With a little annoyance, Yuya told Kaede that his friends bullied him with jokes and jealousy of what they did before. Kaede felt sorry for Yuya, but she also felt the same way because Akio kept bullying her even though it was a joke. After a short conversation, Akio and Shinji arrived. Then the four of them, Yuya, Kaede, Akio, and Shinji walked to find a stargazing spot. Students were allowed to stargaze wherever they wanted. When they arrived at the right spot, Shinji again encouraged Yuya so that his plan would go smoothly. Yuya was so nervous to express his feelings to Kaede, but still he tried not to be too afraid. Later, Shinji and Yuya approached Akio and Kaede. They chose different places to stargaze. Then the four of them separated. Kaede walked with Yuya, while Akio was with Shinji. Kaede led Yuya to a hill. She heard the instructor say it was a great spot for stargazing. She was so excited to show him that spot. She was caught in the frozen ground and was about to fall forward. Luckily, Yuya caught her. He grabbed her hand and hugged her till he reminded her to quickly go to the hill ahead of them. But Kaede wanted them to stay in that position for a while. With the way she begged and her boobs touching his chest, how could he say no to her? Then his cheek got red, but swiftly he got a hold on himself and gently released Kade's body. He probed her that after stargazing, he wanted to talk about something with her. She agreed and begged him after the talks. Then Kaede wanted them to continue their hug. While walking, she said that she looked forward to his important talk. Yuya wondered if Kaede knew that he was going to confess to her. After a while, they arrived on the hill. Kaede pointed out the winter triangle, Betelgeuse, Sirius, and Procyon, the starry sky that they couldn't see in the cities. She exclaimed she didn't believe they got to see it together, and he concurred that he was very happy just being with her. Did Yuya feel happy to be with her? She asked with a slight tremble in her voice. She sounded anxious. There was something that he couldn't tell her. Yuya asked Kaede if she would listen to it. She said she was prepared now and let him talk that he lamented. He was the one doing it, and just the thought of Kaede rejecting him drove him crazy. He started talking about their cohabitation, that he learned many things about her, and how he has grown to like her beyond his control. His feeling made him feel scared that one day she'd leave him and go somewhere. He knew that she was not that kind of person though, but he decided he couldn't bottle up his feelings for her anymore. The more he learned about her, his admiration became love. He was falling in love with her. By the end of his confession, both of them blushed. She got so emotional and hugged him. She was so happy to hear how Yuya felt about her. She teared up that he apologized for making her wait so long, but she said she didn't mind. It was worth the wait. Releasing their hug, she confessed to him. She loved Yuya Yoshizumi too more than anyone else. Yuya wiped her tears with his fingers and gently touched her cheek. Then Kaede told Yuya that she was happy when he hugged her and patted her, but he looked confused because Kaede stopped her words. Suddenly, Kaede lingered her arms around Yuya's neck, stretched a little, and placed her lips on his. They kissed for a while and confessed their love for the second time. She thanked him for his confession. After that, they stargazed for a while. But her sudden declaration made him panic. She wanted to sleep next to him that night. She explained that she wants to switch their sleeping arrangement places in secret. But he objected to it. She got confused because she thought her new lover wanted to stay with her that night. But Yuya explained that he didn't want his friends to come and see her in pajamas. He couldn't accept her suggestion because he wants to be the only guy who can see her in cute and fluffy pajamas. She didn't know how possessive Yuya was. She looked dumbfounded when she heard his reason. So he stated that it was normal to want to be the only one who knew how sweet her love was that at last. She agreed with his point. She didn't want other guys to see her in her pajamas because she'd be so defenseless. She leaned on his shoulder and asked him one last kiss before they returned. Right before their faces got closer, their best friends appeared. Kaede and Yuya jumped out in a panic. Akio came to pick Kaede up, but she didn't expect Kaede to be this bold. Kaede got embarrassed and scolded her because Akio interrupted their moment. While Kaede was angry at Akio, Shinji started approaching Yuya. He guessed Yuya was able to convey his feelings properly. Yuya scratched his cheek and said thanks to Shinji. But he reminded him he hoped Shinji would be more mindful next time to not interrupt the best part. And Shinji briefly apologized for it. Yuya exclaimed with a loud voice that their best friends wouldn't get away with it if that was their first kiss. But Kaede interrupted Yuya. She said how he was not embarrassed to say that so casually that he rubbed her head, and said of course it was embarrassing. But he felt more disappointed that he couldn't kiss her. Their best friends looked astonished with their public display of affection. Akio suggested to Shinji to go back together first, and leave the new couple in their own world. Shinji agreed, and reminded them to not go back too late. Still blushing with their best friend's remark, they were holding hands and decided to go back. And one last time, Kaede asked him again if she could actually sneak into his room, but Yuya still objected to her. They were back home now. Since it was morning, they had to go to school that I in Yuya's arms. Kaede woke him up. She teased him and called him sleepyhead right after Yuya opened his eyes. He discovered their intimate position and asked her why she slept next to him, and she pouted. She was feeling lonely because he didn't wake up at first. Yuya couldn't help but just stroking her head. She admitted she liked it when he patted her head, but there was also something that she wanted to do with him in the morning too. He chopped her head. Why did you chop me? Didn't you remember our promise to kiss good morning and good night every day? Kaede protested. By now, Yu already sat near the edge of the bed, that he reminded her that they need to prepare to go to school. Then Kaede growled. She closed her eyes, pretending to be a sleeping beauty. She said she would just go back to sleep and become a sleeping beauty until he kissed her. Scratching his head, Yuya surrendered to her silly wish. Yuya then kissed Kaede, and for a while hovering his body over her, their hearts raced really loud. Her cheek became red because Yuya suddenly kissed her. Yuya got up from their position to start his preparation to go to school. Kaede tried to recover from their kiss on that bed. Kaede asked him to take responsibility and marry her. Absolutely, Yuya loved Kade's idea, and he teased her playfully. After a while, Yuya finished his preparation by brushing his teeth, that he looked stunned when Kaede appeared with her revealing clothes. He blushed and quickly fixed her clothes. He reasoned that he didn't want her to get cold if her clothes stayed open like that. Kaede could only giggled. Yuya, I love you, she teased. He brushed off her tease and passed her toothbrush to her. They brushed off their teeth together. He thought they looked like newlyweds. Kaede finished his thought and he acknowledged it too. Quietly, he thought of his past issue that led them to their current cohabitation condition. He didn't want to keep depending on her or her family. He didn't want to become like his dad who ran away overseas. Right before he continued his pity thought, Kaede interrupted him. She wanted them to do their best since the terminal exam was coming up. Yuya actually remembered he was asked to succeed Kade's father position, so he would have to beat the terminal exam first in order to go to university. That IT was drizzling on their way to school, so they used one umbrella together since Kaede wanted to keep clinging to him. And just like that night, their best friend interrupted their moment. Akaho and Shinji teased them because they shared an umbrella. Akaho asked if she was happy, and she was indeed happy to be able to cling with her lover. So Akaho playfully copied her and shared an umbrella with Shinji. Ignoring many murderous stares from other girls, Akaho asked Kaede about her exam preparation. Kaede stated that although the material covered was a bit extensive, she was still on track with her study. Akaho chimed in and suggested them to have a study meeting together. Shinji also liked that idea. Since Kaede wanted to concentrate better in a quieter place, she offered them to study in Kaede's house. Ya could only panic in silence because Akaho already got excited with her idea. They discussed if they could do it on the weekend and who will join. Shinji asked if they should invite Nikaido to join, but Yaya was sure she would decline their invitation. Since Kaede didn't want to leave Nikaido out, she disagreed and make him invite her later. With worried look, Akaho stared at them. Later at class, Nikaido accepted his offer. He looked flabbergasted. He assumed she would say no as she always did. But she said she wanted to try have a study meeting together, since it sounds fun. She added that she wanted to know what kind of mansion Kaede's house is. Yuya froze up that he already explained to his friends that her mother let him live without paying rent. But he didn't want others to know that they also live alone at that house. Nikaido also reasoned that if Kaede and Nikaido teach Yuya together, his grade would be better. Yuya then nodded his head in agreement. My grade would surely skyrocket, he thought. Looking at him, Nikaido playfully teased him to brace himself since she was a strict teacher. Ya begged Nikaido to go easy on him. She replied she would think about it if he begged and called her sensei. So Ya bowed and did what she wanted him to do. Nikaido blushed because she didn't think Ya, her first love, would really do it. She flipped her book's page and conceded. Covering her mouth with her book, she silently relieved the moment Ya called her name. On the next day, they had PE class on that day. But since the rain from morning didn't stop, they changed their usual routine. The boys were supposed to play soccer outside with other classes, and the girls would play basketball inside the gym. So the boys ended up playing basketball in the gym too. Yuya pushed the basketball rack near the field. Looking at how excited the boys were, Nikaido asked him about it, but he shrugged and said men were simple creatures who were excited when they saw something that they didn't normally see. Nikaido playfully teased him if he was also excited to see her in her gym uniform, but he disagreed. He didn't think it would get him excited. She pouted and relented it would be different if it was his lover's clothes. Ya concorded and imagined Kaede with her gym clothes. Nikaido could only sigh and mock him for being a closet pervert, that he stated that the guys were excited since they had the chance to impress the girls now. The boys were easy, she agreed with him. She uttered that she wasn't the one to talk. Ya confusedly stared at her. She brushed it off and said that she wants to be more serious too. She wanted Yuya to watch over her carefully and root for her, that he sighed in relief and looked at her back delightfully. The boys played the game first. Yuya admitted that although soccer's his game, basketball was quite fun too. Nikaido approached Yuya, who rested his body now. She was surprised because he was better than she thought. He denied her praise, that he was nothing compared to the ace of the basketball team, and it was also because their opponent's movements were repetitive. She insisted on praising him. She thought it was impressive of him, even though he was not in the basketball team. That's so she promised to be more impressive, since she was a member of the basketball team. While the girls were thinking of the strategy, Ya looked at her and thought if she were about to go all out in the upcoming game. And just like he imagined, she kept shooting so many balls into the basket. The game got intense. One of her opponents were trying to prevent her shoot. The girl accidentally knocked Mikado out, and it sprained her legs. The entire class looked at her with worried look. The girl apologized. She reassured her to stop worrying about her, since it was just a little sprain. Nikaido was sure the pain would go away after she iced it and rest for a while. She asked her teacher's permission to the infirmary. He allowed it and asked her if she needs someone to help her walk, but she rejected it. Yet it looked at her condition. Then Ian followed her, that he asked Shinji to cover him up. Shinji could only ramble and panic, since it would be difficult to fool that strict, intimidating, and scary teacher. On the way to infirmary, Ya caught up on her that he asked her if she was okay. She was stunned to see him. He asked her to stop pretending to be okay, that he offered his shoulder to support her walk. She accepted his offer. She staggered, but luckily his arm caught her. Her cheeks got red when she realized her chest accidentally touched his right arm. She felt sorry, but he denied it because he only helped her since she lost her balance from the pain. That it got uncomfortable for both of them. She felt she was bothering him. Yua brushed it off and asked her if she thinks she could walk. Nikaido said that she would have to try it first even though it was a bit difficult. He looked thoughtful for a moment and seemed to reach some kind of decision. He lowered his body and bent his back. She looked alarmed when she realized what did he mean. He offered to piggyback her since no one was watching. Carefully she hopped on his back and lingered her arms around his neck. After she got in that position, he told her to hold on tight since he was going to hurry up. Nikaido felt sorry and thanked him for carrying her. Then they reached the infirmary. While the nurse asked about her condition, Yua decided to go back to the gym. But Nikaido grabbed his uniform. She wanted him to stay with her just a little longer. Nurse chimed in. She would explain it to the teacher so he could accompany her. It was so awkward for both of them. The nurse looked at her sprained ankle. She explained the sprain tends to come back, so she would put a compress on it, and Nikaido still needs to see a doctor. She listened and obeyed the nurse. Since it must be hard to move and walk around, the nurse asked Yua to help her out for the time being. Hearing that, Yua agreed with it. The nurse left them after she teased both of them. Good. Protect the fragile princess, the nurse giggled. Nikaido could only protest that she was not a princess. Later on in the next class, Akio asked Nikaido about her leg. She said even though it still hurt a little, it was not like she couldn't walk. She planned to go see a doctor that weekend. Akio sighed because it meant Nikaido wouldn't come for the study meeting. Nikaido lamented the last chance to be strict while teaching Yua. But Kaede pitied Yua, her new lover. She implied that she would go easy on him. But Nikaido scolded her. She forbade Kaede from spoiling him too much. She was worried Yua would slack off quickly on his study if she wasn't strict with him. Kaede reassured her that Yua still studied very hard every day to the point she wanted him to loosen up a bit. Then Akio came with a brilliant idea. She suggested that they have study meetings in the class after school too, since there were no clubs during final week. Nikaido agreed and said she could join after school. Yua chimed in. It was full of benefits since they also asked the teacher questions. He praised her idea. Akio bashfully asked him to praise her more and treat her with a bottle of juice. Yua looked unfounded and took back his words. He thought Akio, Shinji's girlfriend, was a real clown. Shinji looked apologetic to him, and then he realized it was probably Shinji's idea. Kaede got excited to the after-school study meeting, since it meant she would teach Yua both at school and home. Yua asked if he would count on her, and she happily said that he could count on Kaede more and more. Looking at their interaction, Akio asked him why these two created a strawberry vibe so naturally. Shinji concluded that she didn't have to worry about it. He recounted what Yua and Kaede did while stargazing at the extracurricular camp. They even wanted to go after Shinji and Akio since they hadn't gone back yet. Yua closed Shinji's mouth in panic. He exclaimed he wouldn't let him talk anymore. Yua still felt angry because Shinji and Akio interrupted them at the wrong time, especially with Kaede who wanted to have a sneaky visit thanks to them. Hearing that, Nikaido asked Kaede about it. Actually, Kaede blushed and called it her runner high moment. Her reason was because it was after their confession and first kiss. Hearing that, Yua wanted Kaede to stop talking about it. But Nikaido got curious about what happened after that. Yua scolded her too. Meanwhile, Akio tried to record on her phone about this story, and she ignored Yua's protest.